All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you could join us tonight. I know we are probably going to be sparse for a while because Sunday's streaming. Let me get into Food Shop Center and change my screen. To our thing, take this and put it up front. I'll get camera stuff up in a few.
I asked them. They were invited. And I'll actually read out what they said. And they are aware of the panel as well. So I'll read out what Sunday said to me.
Okay.
So Sunday have said, probably not, just because I don't want to exhaustively court disaster when people are watching me for a reason to attack, but we can chat soon. And as for Whick, I think for yesterday, Whick have said it's 1 a.m. I am sleep Whick. And then for today, I posted the same link, and Whick has not responded ever since 9 hours. So not respond for 9 hours. So no response. Yeah, I'm gonna poke him again, but yeah, that's about it. But as for speaking about Brianna Wu, I think it's a different rule since she is like a public figure. So that's a little bit different.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to hold you accountable since you did me, and I wanted to just see whether it was rules for thee and not for me. But I see.
Whick says, "Yo, I can't make it. I'm eating." That's now. By the way, your audio's lagging out.
Test. Can you hear me?
True. Wait, hold on. Let me see if Neve is able to get on. Yeah, you're still. Hold on. Can you say an entire sentence? Can you do that for me?
Test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3. All right. Can you say it again?
Test 1, 2, 3.
Okay, good enough. All right. I'm gonna DM Neve.
Am I lagging?
No, you're perfectly fine.
Hey, Lucy.
Just gotta turn you up a little bit.
Hello.
Perfect. All right.
Still a private conversation before anything, yes?
Yes, right now we don't really have any anti-Sunday people on. So everybody here is pro-Sunday so far. Oh, wait, no, we have one. All right. That's one. Otherwise it would be a 1v3.
Am I anti-Sunday? I think I am, probably, right?
Yeah, so, but then you are ferocious,
Ferocious how?
So it would be, you're just a powerful person when it comes to being a voice on panels. So
thank you.
You are able to hold your own. Let's just put it at that. But I'm gonna see if some other people are able to come on. Let me just do it real quick.
It's okay. Daedalus is powerful as well.
Thank you. I'm just eating and then I'll turn my camera on, okay?
No worries.
My name is Neve. Hi, everyone.
Hi. My name is Daedalus. I half run the YouTube channel Two Guys Talking History. I'm also a frequent guest appearance. Me and Lucy are both frequent guest appearances on this President Sunday Cinematic Universe.
Oh, cool.
It's true. All of it.
What are your pronouns?
I go by he, him. I'm relatively boring.
That's cool. Lucy, what about you? How are you?
Yes. I run the Lucy Has a channel. Okay. I do
Okay.
history, gaming, a bit of politics, and art, and languages, but I've not done languages in a while.
Okay.
And I
You
go
speak.
by she, her.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Do you have what kind of languages do you speak?
Well, I'm from Poland, so I speak Polish.
Okay.
I speak Japanese
Oh wow.
to a pretty satisfying degree. I started learning Hebrew, and I hope to start learning Yiddish next month.
I think I know. Does that have any association to Ireland?
Sorry?
I don't think I know where that language is originating from.
Oh, Yiddish is like the language of Jewish people. It was
Right. Okay.
especially used in Eastern Europe, and it's used in the US. Unfortunately, it's an endangered language because of, well, history.
Okay. Cool. Um, that's really interesting. I should learn more. Hi,
It's
Yun.
based on Old German.
Yoon is probably
who's your number
napping
one?
right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Who's your number one fan?
What?
I'm just wondering what your name is.
Number one Food Chops fan.
Oh, cool. What are your pronouns?
The fact. They or she.
Oh, yeah.
Stop. This is Symph. Okay, it's Symph. All right. It's
You're
the
very
Symph.
quiet,
No,
Synth. Oh, that's why, because
Look,
I turned you
I'll-
down. There we go. Never mind.
Okay.
The last time you and I talked was Christmas, so I must have turned you down at that
I
time.
remember that.
Yes, if you recall.
I do.
Is Kinkle working?
I think Kinkle says that he is. I can come on about an hour and a half to 2 hours late. So people might be coming on later. But what we can do is that we can start early and get like a discussion going. And maybe like get some stuff rolling. And when people later on wants to come in, especially if anybody wants to reach out and join the join the panel in the middle, just let me know and DM me. And otherwise, I think we are solid and ready to go. If you do have cameras, cameras will always be appreciated. So thank you for that. If you always have cameras, makes the experience more engaging in general. Thank you so much for that. Thank you very much. And other than that, I have definitely typed up the prompt, and if you have any issues with the prompt, and that's about it. So, Ken Comore just said, yes, I am at work for the next hour. I'll be when I get home. I do know that Zonia might be hopping on later. Stardust might also be hopping on later, maybe. All right. So both of them are maybes. And in addition, I think that Taftaj might also be a maybe. All right. So I've reached out, no response yet. But that is a last minute thing. All right. So we'll see. Yeah. So finally, I'm still questioning whether to message Brianna Wu or not. Me and her are on good terms. Our bridge is intact. But if I message her about this, I'm not sure if it'll stay that way. So the thing is, so I'm questioning, whether I should make that decision or not. So
I'm under the impression that she is in Baltimore for VidCon.
Yes. So she would not have the time anyway, but I'm sure that she will in fact check out this VOD. I'm almost certain. All right. Or not certain rather. But the thing is that's about it. Anyway, I will begin reading out the prompt now that I have typed up. So here we go. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Wait, is it starting now?
Yes. So welcome to Food for Thought. So here on this panel, this is hosted by yours truly, Food Chops. And yeah, I'm a content creator, commentator, debater, and other than that, I like talking about subjects that are typically too complicated or like a little bit more nuanced than Twitch poll in general. But I like dumbing things down for Twitch poll because I think that there's still important subjects to talk about. And that's about it. That's my entire gist. All right. So in terms of drama, this is for President Sunday, Whick TV, and Brianna Wu drama. So the premise is this. There has been an occurrence of late, a whisper in the ether, if you will, all right? Brianna Wu has been chatting in private and in public in both Discord and otherwise group chats about her transmedicalist related takes, or some may call transmedicalist, some may say not transmedicalist, and some may say based, and some may say not based, okay? These chat logs have been leaked to President Sunday, who has then live streamed and made at least one video on Wu's past in a negative light, as well as posting about her negatively on Twitter, all right? So there are two main group chats at play. The first is a primarily transgender, and some may argue transmedicalist Twitter group chat called Sissy Hippo Pub. In the chat, Brianna Wu's most contentious statement on former TYT trans employee Benny that Sunday has repeatedly posted is, quote, if you're not super hot, maybe just dress normally and don't present yourself as a transvestite. You can go a long way with just being skinny and dressing normally, end quote. The second is Whick TV's public Discord server general chat. What has been contentious especially is Sunday has took the logs from Whick TV server where both Wu and Sunday has been active in and has posted them online onto his YouTube channel, to which Whick TV has banned Sunday for a week because Sunday broke the rule of Whick TV's Discord rule of turning server logs into content or publicized material. So the first question is this. Do you think that private group chat messages where the messages don't cause direct harm, quote unquote direct harm, so you guys can argue over this, to others or public facing figures should be regarded as something serious? If a public figure gave their opinions in private only, but said other things in public, would that be a cause for concern, as long as it is not harming anybody directly, like unwanted sexual advances? Discuss.
Well, doesn't it kind of depend on the context? Like, if you're a politician and you're saying, hey, publicly I'm saying this thing, but privately I have this different view, and I'm telling my donors that thing, like, obviously that's in the public interest. But if it's just people talking and, like, you're shooting the shit with your friends and maybe you say something that's not fully thought out because it's a private chat, like, that probably shouldn't be leaked out. No, I don't.
Wait, hold on. In Brianna Wu's case in particular, she is a politician.
Yeah, Brianna Wu is running a PAC. She is attempting to insert herself into a conversation and saying one thing publicly and saying entirely a different one privately. I feel that is public interest.
Yeah. She runs a PAC. She ran a failed congressional campaign. And during her failed congressional campaign, by the way, she also had a bunch of insane lies. Like, she claimed to be a cybersecurity expert in campaign advertisements. She claimed that she was homeless, but, like, before that, she was claiming that, like, when she was 19, her parents gave her $200,000 to start up an animation studio. She's just, like, her entire history is just her being a chronic liar and saying one thing publicly and a different thing privately, and then getting caught for it. Like, that's her entire history on the.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that's a bit different then.
That's fair.
Yeah, it really feels fairly cut and dry that this is a case of public interest.
Yeah.
I see. Is there no disagreement whatsoever then on this issue?
I think that. Well, I would think that the Brianna Wu in this particular case would absolutely be putting herself at risk because yes, she's in organizations that are tied to her opinion. So obviously, contradicting one of them privately is still a big deal. But Whick has every right to ban President Sunday in this constant because Whick TV is not. My understanding is he's just a moderator, but I mean he has his own public political opinions, but they're tied to a debate channel. So I think that the the career of the person matters, or what their intentions are matter.
Look, is there anybody on here who actually thinks that like Whick doesn't have like a right to ban anybody he wants from his Discord? Like I think so. I just think that it's like just because he has a right to do it doesn't mean that it is right to do it. Right?
Well,
like, you
yeah,
can
I would
have a right to free speech, but that doesn't mean that like calling somebody the N-word's okay.
I would point out that Whick is perfectly at liberty to ban whoever he wants from his Discord for no reason. However, like there is, I think, an important point in that Discord for the rules. I don't know if it's been updated as of today. It probably has. I would imagine it would have been. But originally it said that you cannot record anything in voice chat explicitly. There was nothing about the general chat. In that, I don't necessarily think that it's reasonable to assume that you are not being monitored in a public-facing Discord. Like anything you say is going to be said in public. So like he can do whatever he wants, but I don't necessarily think I would make that argument as a reasonable one.
You should act as such, absolutely. Like, especially on the internet, you should act as such that, like, the worst person in your personal life is going to see that particular thought or whatever. But, I mean, aside from that, the conversation, again, the intention of a particular conversation were not stated to be broadcasted or whatever. So I think that really is, a reasonable argument for Whick to make. And the fact that President Sunday was only banned for 7 days makes it even more formidable to me. So,
yeah, I don't necessarily.
Look, I don't think anybody thinks it's like. I don't think anybody thinks it's like a big deal that President Sunday was banned for 7 days. I just think they think it's like dorky. They looked at it.
It's
kinda
funny more than anything.
yeah, it's whatever.
I mean, President Sunday doesn't mind it, no? They talked about it.
He was very well. There was a split like conversation he had with Whick that was just nothing really. But yeah, he doesn't seem very bothered by it. So
Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, sure, it's your prerogative for whatever. I don't really care. It's fine.
regardless of how pointless and entertaining that conversation was, it was good that they were able to at least have that conversation face to face, even though it was just really mundane and kind of boring. Because yeah, like if it is one thing to like ban someone from your, from your castle or your point of authority, but to not justify it, that is another layer of what sometimes causes the turbulence. So
yeah, I really think that Whick is a fairly minor player in all of this. I mean, he's obviously having a temper tantrum on Twitter for the last 2 days, but that's, totally his prerogative. Like he's not
Temper
really,
tantrum.
yes, he is fighting with Zanzi and Sunday and me and Sirius about how serious he is. So like he's having a normal one today, but like I don't really think he's the principal player here. Like it's a minor show, and he's mostly upset because a source of funding for him is been accosted. He was paid by Rebellion PAC, which is the PAC that Wu runs, to host a panel show. He has a vested financial, yes, to host a panel between Vosh and some guy on abortion. I forget the other guy.
Yeah, some Catholic dude or whatever.
Yes.
It was about contraception.
Okay, contraception.
Yeah, there was also there were two. There was one about there was the debate between Vosh and the Catholic guy, and there was another panel or something that was sponsored as well. I think the panel was contraception. Do you have that correctly, Lucy?
The debate was contraception.
Oh, okay. And the panel was something else.
Yeah, I think it
It would be
moved.
Catholic.
The topic moved in the middle of it. I was only half paying attention. The point is, though, like he has a vested financial interest here, so he's understandably upset, just not necessarily justifiably upset.
I have a question. So do you think that maybe simply just dismissing it as like a vested, financial aspect might dismiss, genuine criticism that he may have?
Well, if you go
I don't know
and
what's
look
the
at,
genuine criticism.
yeah, if you go and look at the criticism, he's just basically spent the entire time calling anyone who opposes him the R-slur. So I'm not entirely certain he's articulating any criticism he has in the most effective way possible.
Well,
You're talking about what?
I don't know all.
I don't understand the
details,
question.
But from this, I just want to understand. It sounds like President Sunday took the screenshots and chat logs from Whick's server, right? That's where he got these, or some of them.
No, he got these screenshots from a individual who gave them to him on the condition of anonymity, and he got the logs from Whick's server on Whick's server, of which he is a member.
But So he leaked the logs partially from Whick server, some of them, right?
It's not really a leak if it's a public-facing log, but sure.
But would Whick, does he have any reason to be upset that someone was in a server and was taking these things that it is a public community, but it's semi-public because you have to be invited in theory, and they were trying to cause drama involving.
I was able to.
It's a
I
Discord,
wasn't invited.
You can just click right in.
Yeah.
Right,
But if you searched it up, would you be able to join?
Well, he's not here to defend himself. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here a little bit. He runs a server. People are taking screenshots or logs from that server, and they're posting them publicly. He might be a little bit upset about that. I think that's not super unreasonable.
Okay, well.
So I had this happen to me recently. I had this I'm an admin for a server as well, and this happened to us recently where it was posted on a live show, and I decided not to ban the person who screenshotted. Well, it was a VC conversation as well, a little bit different, but I decided not to ban them. I just stripped them of their, what is it called? Their access type stuff. But that was in the case of a VC. I think that I could see it go either way, honestly. In this case, I understand, though.
So let me ask a different question then in this particular case. What we're talking about is a limit. Where is the limit of what you think is acceptable to take? Because people take things from Discords as a matter of public comment and put them in other Discords all the time. In fact, in Whick's Discord that very morning, I saw someone take something from Sunday's Discord and put it up there to mock the individual who was speaking in that photo. So it's a question of limits. I don't necessarily think that you can say it's universally wrong if he's... Oh, excuse me, I'm about to have my dog bark furiously.
Yeah, but I think the point that Daedalus is making, maybe to pick up where they left off, is there's not really a good reason to believe that there's some kind of universal rule against taking screenshots on Discord. Obviously, there's plenty of cases where it's justified. Obviously, in this case, it's probably pretty justified. And you can say maybe but Whick had an expectation or something. But it's kind of a silly expectation, right? Being realistic, you having the expectation people aren't going to take screenshots of your posts on social media, on Discord, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's just a silly idea. Obviously, people are going to do that. You just don't post things to the internet you don't want seen publicly.
I'm not sure if it's even a big topic since Whick and President Sunday talked about it, and President Sunday said, "Oh, fair enough. You decided to ban me. I think it's it's your right. Fair enough if you felt that it's against some of your rules or whatever.
Yeah.
7 days, no big deal."
Yeah, it's not a big deal, and he shouldn't have an expectation of privacy. I just trying to see it from his perspective here a little bit. It does seem like he's like, dude, what the fuck? This you're bringing this massive drama into this space from my server. I'm not really comfortable with it. I understand. I think that having that expectation of privacy is stupid, but if he wants to ban the guy for 7 days, I think that's perfectly chill. I think he has the right to do that, to moderate his own private space that way. But it's also just kind of silly to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I agree. He's got a right to do it, and it's a dorky or whatever to do it, but who cares, right? I think the real maybe the real disagreement we can figure out is just is Brianna Wu guilty of some wrongdoing? I know that I think so. I'm guessing that the President Sunday people think so.
What was the specific statement that you would be basing that on?
Oh, I have an issue with her lying. I have an issue with somebody having one position in public and then misrepresenting the positions that they actually hold in private. I have an issue with
Can you elaborate on that? Because I didn't really know who she was until I looked into the context. So
yeah, so she's got a long history of doing this. But the most recent one is basically the thing that I take most issue with is the fact that she secretly held contempt for the Black Lives Matter movement and never voiced this publicly. Now, I would disagree with her if she voiced it publicly, but I don't think it would be that big of a deal, right? I think it's you know what, there are some reasonable critiques to be made. I would disagree with you at the end of the day, but at least you have a fucking spine. But something about this person who's running a PAC, who's run a congressional campaign, and has this long history of lies and is now lying about her political views, that puts a really bad taste in my mouth. I think there's something deeply wrong about that.
Sorry, and this Black Lives Matter disdain was voiced inside the
group chat in secret, yeah.
Which is what has caused all of this.
Yeah. There's that, as well as her attacks on a transgender individual who is on one hand is kind of a fucking dork, but the way she attacked her is on virtue of the fact that she was trans.
Yeah, like I
like,
feel
oh,
like
yeah.
there is a degree. I believe you speak about Benny, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a degree. Like I can understand to a certain degree, like fighting with Benny, what Brianna Wu was doing, but then turning around and saying, "Wow, Benny's an asshole." That's pretty valid. I feel like necessarily in disparaging her as a non-passing trans person feels wrong, just beyond the pale of simply pointing out that you dislike a person.
I think that like on one hand, it feels like shitty, but like I wouldn't have such a fucking bad taste in my mouth if she wasn't like publicly woke scolding other people about like much more minor things, like the whole fucking Total Biscuit situation. Openly called Total Biscuit as transphobic, as racist, and as sexist as you can be. Those are her fucking words, right? But the dude is like openly, like even in fucking 2017, until the dude's fucking death from cancer, he was like one of the most pro-trans people online. He like, if you guys remember the CoxCon R-Traps gay question,
Yes,
he was like on the front lines of like shitting on the fucking person who asked the transphobic question. He got so much fucking backlash for it.
Right.
But she like threw this guy under the bus. Like, so he's one of the few fucking people in this space who is progressive.
And,
he
am I
and
mistaken?
Jesse
Wasn't
Cox had that
she-
person removed.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Like, wasn't Brianna like almost like gloating over
Yep.
his death? If I remember.
Yeah, she said some
correctly?
really fucked shit. Like the fact that like, oh, the only legacy I want to get the exact quote. The most impactful legacy of John Bain, which is Total Biscuit's name, I see is an army of toxic gamers who harass women they don't like in his name.
That was
Genuinely
her quote?
yeah, it's a direct quote from her, yeah. Genuinely
And
disgusting.
obviously, that's
I
not
know
true.
the quote. I just didn't
Yeah.
know it was hers.
Yeah, obviously, that's not true of cancer, especially when it's not true.
Right after his death, to be clear, right? Not to the guy, but like
Well, still, his family, his
6 months,
friends, people in his
Yeah.
community.
It doesn't
Obviously,
make
it's
it any
Yeah, exactly.
worse. I'm pretty sure his wife was also experiencing some troubles after his death.
Yes, his
Yeah.
wife has effectively left public life, but she was very
Yeah, she has
upset
some
at the time.
financial trouble, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
regarding the house and some other things.
What had happened in their particular case is they had put a great deal of money and leverage into a StarCraft 2 esports team. So in that particular case, that was what was happening with them at that time. But old news aside, I think kind of the bigger things I think are this. Brianna Wu makes a tweet the morning before Sunday does his stream, where she categorically states that she unequivocally supports non-binary people, and obviously that wasn't true. There's a whole host of things here to talk about, even kind of the larger aspect of the emerging talk about the debate between self-ID and transmedicalism, whereas not everyone seems to feel that transmedicalism is a inclusive path forward for the trans community.
In fact, it was used as a tool to enforce, and still in some cases is used as a tool to enforce sterilization on people. You do need to remember that aspect as well.
Now, I do have a question. Now, I know that Neve specifically has, some views regarding, specifically on, transmedicalism and, non-binary people. What would your take be specifically on, Brianna Wu? Would Brianna Wu necessarily be contradicting herself on that?
Well, in my opinion, not at all, right? Because I make the distinction between trans people and non-binary people, right? That is at the heart of my opinion with regards to the communities. I think you could even step outside of transmedicalism and self-ID. I mean, I think self-ID is definitely an issue there for me. But I think the issue is that she is contradicting herself publicly, right?
What's a trans person on your view?
Sorry?
What's a trans person on your view? Like, what do you take a trans person to be?
I think that they must meet like a medical requirement. They must be making some sort of like effort to convey themselves as the opposite gender.
The opposite gender? So, like, if you have dysphoria and you're non-binary and you're taking effort to convey yourself in some kind of androgynous way, you wouldn't consider that person trans?
Well, in a conversation about people who are transitioning from one gender to the other, no.
Will you be transitioning from one gender to not having a gender, or from one gender to some kind of neutral ground, or one gender to bigender?
they can do that, and I think the validity is in their ballpark to explain to other people. I personally have no quips with that. I just don't think it's trans, and I think that the separation matters in the context of like medicalization and things like that. So
it seems like an arbitrary distinction to say that it has to be like you're just saying like you have to be binary to be trans. You're not saying like the definition of trans entails it. You're just saying something like, well, my definition of trans is built to entail it.
Cool.
This seems arbitrary to me.
Nice.
So you could just like draw the lines around anything. Right? You could be like, oh, well, what I mean when I say trans is like when a white person transitions from one gender to the opposite gender, just like any random arbitrary line. It's like
Wait,
silly.
so why don't you tell me why you obviously don't make the distinction. So instead of sprigging on my take, why don't you just tell me yours?
Yeah, sure. So the thing that I think that makes somebody trans is identifying as a gender other than the one they were assigned at birth, or not identifying as the gender they were assigned at birth. I think either is sufficient condition.
Cool.
Yep. I don't think there's any issue with that. Well, yeah, I don't think there's any reductio on the view.
Sorry?
I don't think there's any reductio on the view. I don't think there's any like logical issue. I don't think there's any like silly entailments. I don't think it's got arbitrarity issue.
Nice.
So, you can pick any definition you want or whatever.
Well, I think there is a lot of people that would disagree with you, and I think a lot of people that would be, a lot of trans women, a lot of trans men. I think that
They would disagree?
non-binary people, in their own experience, one I can't relate to. They have their own life experience, and I think that's cool and acceptable. But it's not.
What are they disagreeing with? Yeah, I'm not claiming it's the same experience. Like my experience and your experience aren't the same experience, right? But that is like irrelevant.
Yeah. So again, I think that the definitions of both, like the way that we exist in life, they shouldn't be conflated with one another. And I think that the way they are in society right now is problematic.
Do you think that it's conflated to the degree where people are saying like, if you are trans, then you are non-binary, and if you are not trans, then you are binary? I think that's what people are saying.
So my particular reason for this, I think, is that when we get into things like, they, them, I think it's actually reasonable. I don't think it's actually that difficult to incorporate it into everyday language. I do it quite often. When you get into things like neopronouns and you start to get into the weeds when it comes to like ambivalence, gender abolition, then that sort of thing just really doesn't.
This isn't really answering my question at all.
With gender. Well, that's fine. You can state a question and I can just tell you how I feel, right? That's
you can just say random.
I'm curious. I am curious. Okay. Tachyon, who do you agree with? If you were to choose a side,
What is this?
who would you agree with?
I think Neeb is the person who is wearing the white headset.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I actually probably lean more your way, but I don't know a lot about this topic. I don't know a lot about the transgender stuff, so I'm here partly to learn. But I do think that your arguments about the medical side are probably better from what I've heard so far, but I'm open to hearing other arguments.
Yeah, I'm open to getting a response
to
to my
like the
question.
mental gymnastics of why your experience is close to mine is so counterproductive to like what you should actually be doing, and that should be like working to further the non-binary movement, as it should exist separate from the trans.
Now the pro Sunday side. I want to ask the pro Sunday side just one moment, okay? Do you guys believe in neo-pronouns?
Why wouldn't I?
Food Shops is trolling me, I swear to God.
Okay, if you guys believe in neo-pronouns, Tachyon, do you believe in neo-pronouns?
No, I don't really see the value of them.
Food Shops, what are you doing?
No! Oh my
Or the
God.
utility.
Wow.
Oh my God, Neve, do you believe in neo-pronouns?
I believe they exist, but I wouldn't I would probably reduce them to arbitrary. Like I think they're pretty silly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're okay with arbitrary and definition. That's a strange thing from you.
Okay, sorry, am I talking? I think I am.
Yeah, you talk too much.
Neopronouns are actually laugh at your own jokes and then use that to validate them later. Okay.
That's so true. That was definitely just a joke. I didn't actually mean.
Totally. Okay. No, I think neopronouns are contributing to the distaste that like cis people have for trans people as a whole.
That's so true. Look, are you able to engage with arguments, or do you just like ramble like a retard?
So
you gonna make the pro Sunday people dislike me, but I don't care.
That's okay. No, I think you would like to set the parameters for the discussion, and then I'm gonna
like getting an argument to my question.
Sorry, can I talk? Sorry,
No.
I'm just gonna state what I need to state and reinforce my opinions.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to set a little target for me to hit in the conversation, you're fine to do so. But I'll engage with it if I feel I should.
If you feel like shit?
If I feel I should.
If you feel you should.
Up.
I don't think that was on my end. I think that was you like slurring through your speech or something. Did you come here sober?
Wonderful.
You're not able to engage with arguments. You just like ramble indefinitely. Just like engage with nothing.
But you're not able to engage in a conversation with your camera on. Can you see why that
That's
would make
so
somebody
true.
feel like a little thing? Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care.
Why is that?
I don't care.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to turn my camera on today. I don't want to plug my camera in.
Okay, perfect. Do you feel like that?
I've got like videos with my camera on. If you go look at my fucking face or something.
Do you think engaging in conversations in bad faith is easier to do with your camera off? Do you think that's the case?
Probably.
Okay.
Do you think that you've engaged in the conversation in good faith by ignoring every question you're asked and rambling like a retard?
I think I've stated my opinions very honestly, and you're free to
No, you
use that
haven't.
information with whatever you want. Yeah,
No, you
absolutely,
haven't.
I have. Absolutely.
No, you haven't. You just ignored any response to the argument.
You can watch the VOD from yesterday, and I am just as consistent as I am here today. So
That's crazy. I don't care that you're consistently stupid.
People-
I want to hear tag.
You should judge people based on the arguments that they make, though, not because they're on camera. And I know. Obviously, I'm not on camera. I probably will get a camera at some point soon, but that has no relevance to the argument that they're making. Though we should judge it based on the quality and strength of their argument.
Well,
Infighting. Wait, speaking of infighting, Lucy and Daedalus, what's your thoughts on Synth using the word retard?
Who cares? Oh my god.
It's not my place to enforce rules here. Synth can use whatever word she feels necessary. I wouldn't use it, but I'm not going to impose myself upon her.
I honestly think it's super fair to find it distasteful. Like I'm not even going to disagree that it's like distasteful.
Fair?
I'm a distasteful person. Everyone knows that.
What's your thoughts on this entire neopronoun stuff? How do you justify neopronouns and stuff, Lucy and Daedalus?
Lucy, feel free.
Oh. Well, what's my thought on neopronouns?
Yeah, you guys haven't been,
Well, first of all, I don't really think that it's a matter of belief. It's like they exist. It's like we can't not believe in them, you know?
On a perfectly philosophical level, how are neopronouns any more arbitrary than he, him, she, her, they, them, it's in any way? Like, language is at a certain level arbitrary. To assign one as arbitrary and not the other just is only because one feels common and we use it commonly.
And
is it just that it's... Go ahead.
Yes. As a small insert, I would just like to... I'm not sure if we're going to go into that discussion in any way, but I would just like to remind that medicalization as a thing was not exactly created to help trans people. It was actually created to, for example, as I will remind, forced sterilization on people, which is still a thing in many countries. So the term medicalization carries with it a lot of not necessarily positive connotation on its own.
Oh, okay, but so free informed consent, the ability for anyone to access, medical, let's say hormone therapy, like HRT right now. HRT is going to render you infertile anyways. So how is that any different?
From what?
From what you said, medicalization being used to sterilize people.
Because there's
why make that distinction if it's happening either way?
Because there's a difference between consented taking HRT that may or may not make you infertile and making being sterilized a legal requirement to be able to change your gender. I think there's a pretty big distinction there.
They call Lucy the question answer. She'd be answering the questions and shit.
Do you not see a difference between these things?
I don't know. I don't think you were. I don't think that I was aware of the first portion of what you had said.
Okay, I just want to know, like, is anybody here supporting like neopronouns?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Why? Why?
Because why? So the reason why the reason why I support neopronouns is just because I don't really think that like policing other people's language usage is always the best idea. I think if somebody's like lying or something, that'd be an issue. But if somebody's just like using language the way they want to, that's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, frankly, it's not my
But isn't it also kind of actually policing other people's language if you're like, I expect everyone to call me Zer, And like
No, I don't think
no
so.
one in like the normal world, like most
Yeah,
people, the vast majority of people don't use that kind of language, don't understand that kind of language,
Agreed.
don't
Okay.
have
What
any
if
Wait,
interest
you
you
in
need
that.
to have
What
like
if you worked with someone whose name was Richard and he wanted to be called Richard and you insisted upon calling him Dick? How is that very different?
Well, it's very different because we're referring to someone as their name, right? And we're talking
Yeah.
about pronouns. Pretty different.
No, it's not. A pronoun is an extension of your name. It's how you identify yourself.
no, it's
Yeah,
not.
but in a
You're silly.
But in a conversation about pronouns, neopronouns specifically, then how would you feel like somebody shortening someone else's name in a societally? I don't know. That's stupid as fuck to me. I don't know why you would just call someone Dick if their name was Richard. But I get what you're saying with this, and it's just irrelevant.
Do you want to tell why it's irrelevant, or you just want to like cast out that it's irrelevant while you're just like a sci-fi character?
Because we're discussing neopronouns, right? And I think that people who don't people who don't want to use pronouns or neopronouns or anything, respectfully, they're probably just going to call you your name, right? So it just doesn't make sense that like if that's what we're not doing to not favor that, then I just don't see how it's analogous to use like somebody's name.
Yeah, what's the dissimilarity you think is morally relevant?
Well, one is a person's name, which is something that I think it's perfectly reasonable in society for people to expect to be called their name. It's not reasonable to infinitely affirm that somebody is something that most people, the vast majority of people, don't have any reason to think is real, like Caesar, or if they identify as like a dog or whatever. Like we wouldn't infinitely affirm and be like, no, you have to bark at me. You have to like.
Yeah, but nobody
who
looks
has
at
ever
you
done-
like
Wait,
they're not
who has
thinking, they're
ever
not
done
claiming
that?
that.
Who has ever said, I
Well,
want you to
like,
bark at me? Like, what the hell?
The other
This is
kin,
most
the other
internet
kin
disgrace.
people,
Disguised
the other
conversation
kin
ever.
people do identify as.
Oh, jeez.
Look, like the other kin people who identify as animals are not the same as people who are using like xenogenders or neopronouns. Right? There's like a different there. I understand that.
But you guys won't take the time to make that distinction, right? Like there's no like calling people out in your community side of things. You guys think everyone is
Yeah, I don't think that
having a great time, right?
No, I think that a person either a dog is saying something false.
Because you don't take the time to call out people's language. You said that yourself, right? So
Hold on. Do you understand the difference between calling out pure language usage and calling out somebody lying?
I think in a practical sense, you've made it pretty clear.
Yeah, I made it very clear. Yeah, I made the distinction very clear. Thank you.
I
Moving
think
on.
it's fucked up. Like I personally think it's fucked up. When you have like no. Listen.
The way you think it is.
Listen.
You want to tell why it does?
I think it's fucked up when you have these
Didn't think so.
olikins and that kind of shit. Well,
Looking
you
like a portal guy.
definitely have like fucking trans people like having like a hard time, and meanwhile you have these people that calling themselves like fairy gender or whatever. Like I think that's fucked up.
You think
So-
it's fucked up
I think
to
it's
call yourself fairy
transphobic.
gender?
I think it's transphobic.
Yeah,
what's
it
transphobic
is
about it?
transphobic. It is
I think
transphobic.
it's very transphobic.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said you
I
think it's
agree.
transphobic. It's
Okay,
transphobic. It's
listen.
transphobic. It's transphobic. Three
Okay.
times in a row. Just say why you think it's
realize
transphobic,
you
or
realize
say what
you
you
could
think
turn-
transphobia is.
Okay, you could unplug your mic, turn your computer off, and go have this conversation.
You
with
could
yourself in
log
the bathroom.
out. You could
If
log
you wanna
out.
stop-
You
if
haven't
you
answered
wanna
any
just turn your own voice,
questions.
right? You know that's an option for you, right?
You're just
Okay.
crying. You're just crying
Yeah.
with your
Well,
arbiter signs looking ass.
Fucking
Just make an
fairy
argument.
gender.
Okay.
What the fuck is going on there?
Can I talk?
Instead of repeating yourself 3 times in a row, say something original and new. Say something novel. She's
You just
dumbfounded.
like
What?
hearing yourself- well, you just like hearing your own
She has nothing to
voice.
say.
Like, it just super cringe. Like I don't. Think
It's
you
so
understand what
cringe.
this man.
It's really
I don't think
cringe
you
and not
understand
even
what you
they.
sound right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Log
I
off.
think you do.
Be on the internet less often.
I don't think you understand.
Points only.
Like, I
You don't look good in this discussion. Like, there's no way that you think you're looking good
in
here.
this one. The autism is strong in this one.
I'm 100% sure you're diagnosed. Like, you can throw out the autism accusation all you want or whatever, right? But you don't
I
look
don't
good in
think
this
there's anything
conversation.
wrong with having autism. I just think
Then
that.
why'd you use it as an insult, dumbass?
What? That's your.
Oh,
okay, well,
jeez.
that's your impression. All I'm saying is that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
anybody who
factor it-
what?
Okay, can I talk?
That's
Or
my
say anything,
impression.
or are you just gonna interrupt me?
Are you gonna
Shut
say
the
anything
fuck
that's
up.
relevant? Shut the
Shut the
fuck
fuck
up!
up.
Shut the fuck up!
Calm down, Sim. Calm down. All right, Sim. Calm down. Calm down.
I got you.
All
I
I'm
got you.
saying is that you having autism, I'm going to factor it into our personal interactions throughout this conversation.
That's true. When you said the autism is strong
Alright.
with this one, you totally
Thank you,
didn't mean an
Jen.
insult. Did you know like normal people would interpret that as an insult, or did you actually not mean it that way?
No, I think I have a lot of compassion for people with autism, and if it's the fact that you do have autism, then I'm not going to sit here and try.
I
to
love
dunk on
this
you
talking
throughout
out of
the
both sides of your mouth.
conversation.
Tell this not get a
Shut the
super
fuck up.
mouth.
Oh,
You-
okay. All right.
You're just such a liar.
You haven't
What
heard
I'm
that.
gonna do-
You haven't
okay,
heard that thing I
stop.
said this entire
Let
time.
the
You've been
content
trying to
happen.
talk
To
over
bring
me.
it back to
Let the
Brianna
content
Wu,
happen.
to bring it back to Brianna Wu. Okay, I'm gonna ask the second question. All right. I'm gonna ask the second question. Unless you guys have any more to say specifically on the topic of neopronouns.
I mean,
I do. I've got
have-
so much more to
Maybe we
say.
shouldn't-
Is there
maybe
any
we shouldn't
way?
use
Is there
them.
any way to move the conversation forward?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
since mutes his
How?
mic, since
How?
mutes their mic when I'm
Or
talking,
that works too.
since mutes their mic when I'm talking, and then just doesn't talk when anyone else is talking. But I don't know if they're capable of doing that.
Wait,
Look, I understand that
that's
she's
not-
got, like,
legitimately,
No capacity
how
to
do-
control
how do
herself.
you-
I've got to wait. Look, I'll show you. I'll
Sorry,
show you.
so
Look.
you're literally
Food
doing
shop.
it right now.
Oh my God.
You're literally
No,
doing
no,
it
no,
right
no,
now.
no, no, no,
What would you do?
Stop. Actually, is there
Are
any
you capable
legitimate
of having
way?
a conversation?
No,
This is the legitimate way for us to move forward in a conversation. Since not interrupting people when they talk.
She's so mad.
No. Is there actually any legitimate way
Yes.
to like point? What is the next point?
I got you.
To convince
I
the
mean-
other person.
It's one simple question, right? Food Shops is a moderator. Like, the only thing I can do is hope that maybe you'll press the retarded guest on answering it. But the question is, what do you think transphobia is?
Who are you
Go
posting
it.
this to?
You.
I think transphobia, in my definition, would be any act to like, I don't know, like delegitimize a trans person in society. A lot of that would be, and when I say delegitimize, I mean like more like, you know, committing violent acts against a trans person would be like would be transphobic because of you know, having that be the only reason that you're committing like violence against them. I think for one. But no, yeah, I think it's transphobic because it's trivializing the use of pronouns that are important to people who are binary trans and people who obviously you know, rely on the distinctions to get by in everyday life.
So on your definition, being an ugly trans person is going to be transphobic. That's silly. That's a silly definition. You want to try it again?
Well, do you want to lay that out for me, or are you just going to say that and hope
Yeah,
I
look,
accept it as fact?
For the same reason that it makes trans people look bad to use xenopronouns or neopronouns, the same is going to be true of an ugly trans person. It's going to make trans people
Okay,
look bad. It's
so
going to trivialize them in the public eye.
So you're not changing my position right now. I don't know if that's your approach or your intent here, but
Yeah, you personally changing your mind is not my goal in the conversation. Like, I don't care about you
Mm.
personally. You're like very clearly like entrenched in your views and not willing to engage.
Oh, okay, wait, stop. Points only.
I think I've been having a conversation. I think that you're making a lot of assumptions in this conversation, and I don't think that
make a
you're very
counter-argument.
optically. I don't think you're very optically conscious. I just think
You're not
that
doing well on
you
optics
are-
either.
Stop. Points
Like, I don't think you're winning on that. You're not winning on substance or on optics. I don't know why you're coping on
Okay,
this.
so I think that you know, I'm like I said, I'm staying true to my opinions, and you were speaking over people. So I mean, take with.
You ignoring arguments and like having a panic attack and freaking out and getting laughed at is not optically good.
Right. No, none of those.
Just make a counter-argument.
Okay, you
I
guys
think
are just literally
me
making
trying
every
to-
5 seconds.
Talk over you because you're talking over me. Would you like? You would see that as anger? Do
No,
look
I see
angry at all
that.
to
I
you
see
right
you.
now?
Yeah, you kind of actually do look super angry. You're making like the super big frowny face. But just go ahead and like address the argument.
Well,
I
let's.
think this is just the way I
Wait,
am.
can
but-
I ask a question about this?
Maybe. Make a
Perhaps the
counter-argument,
wrong.
though.
This is perhaps the wrong audience to ask because obviously I feel like I'm like at a panel where people are just talking past each other and not engaging super great faith. But when it comes to the neopronoun stuff, what do you think the expectation should be for other people? Like, if you want to call yourself Caesar or whatever, right? But like when you interact with other people in the world, what should that expectation be?
You probably shouldn't expect that other people are going to call you by your neopronouns. But if you want to use those alongside like something like they or something, I don't think there's any issue with that. And some people will call you by it.
Okay.
I personally
thanks.
have no
Yeah.
problem with calling somebody by a pronoun that they choose. It costs me nothing.
Yeah, it's like free, and for some people it's pretty easy. I know that like for a lot of people it might be kind of difficult to retrain your brain for pronouns, but like it's already good to do that just for the sake of trans people, broadly. So in the case of like people who use neopronouns, I think that's fine too.
So, yes,
Okay.
Okay. I guess there's yes.
No. Go ahead. No, of course.
Okay. I just feel that the argument around pronouns feels a bit empty to me. It feels like a pointing to normalcy, to what's normal, as to a person is saying that neopronouns are bad because they won't be perceived as normal, and certain things as opposed to the things that are normal. And I just think that it's not really a strong argument, considering that most bigots will simply not really see the difference between neopronouns or the so-called binary pronouns. To a bigot, a trans woman will be a man. They will say, you're policing my language just by expecting me to call you she, her. So I'm not sure if that argument really holds any water.
Yeah, and in the
Well,
broader,
you want to talk about?
please go ahead.
Go ahead. You go first.
In the broader sense, language isn't static. It does not stay the same. It changes over time. Words are added to the language. New definitions come up for old words. So, like I don't necessarily see a normalization of language as even possible, or we should really apply it in this case as really a case of special pleading, really, at the end of the day. Like, words change all the time. Ain't used to be considered improper English when I was in primary school. Now it's in the dictionary. It's always changing. And so, like, it would be difficult for me to sit on an argument of normalcy and when it comes to what language is.
I do want to ask though too about like, do you think it's useful to like talk about this in like terms of like bigotry? Because like obviously there are people who like hate trans people like legitimately, but I think like most people, even like a lot of people who are more like centrist or center right, they'll be like, you know, I don't really know about this stuff, and I think if you're an adult, you should be able to do whatever you want. Some of the kids stuff, I'm a bit more, undecided on. Some of the sports stuff, I'm a bit more undecided on. And you're like, oh, well, you're a bigot. Like, is that even useful to engage in that way? Or is it better to like, well, let's talk about that. Let's see what the good arguments are. Let's see what the science says. And let's see what X, Y, and Z.
When it comes to like neopronoun discussions, no, it's probably really dorky to go ahead and be like, you're a bigot if somebody disagrees with them. Even if it's true or something. Like, even if you have some argument for it and you think it's true, it's really not that effective. Yeah, that would be optically bad. That would be optically kind of silly.
Yeah, I'm not personally. I talked about on my own channel not too long ago the nature of meeting people where they're at, and obviously throwing yourself to the first place where you're calling names is not going to meet people where they're at. But at the same time, I also need to recognize that I am in a position where I feel much safer and I'm more capable of doing that than other people. So, like, whether I would do the thing or not, I think really depends on where you're sitting, what your perspective is, and whether you feel like, because I feel like the person who's going to call you a bigot does not wish to engage with you in the first place. So if that's the case, then someone like myself who might be more able to talk about the thing because I don't feel immediately threatened is going to be less likely to go to that.
Well, this might be a good segue for Kat's next part. She wants to bring it back to Brianna Wu, but I do feel that some people use the term bigot and make these accusations in order to shut down conversations rather than have those conversations.
Yeah, sure. I think the rhetoric conversation is a topic for another time. Obviously, like that's a completely different topic, and we had a lot of that talk, yesterday. When it came, by the way, the entire talk was about transmedicalism, and that was a clusterfuck of a panel. I'm going to tell you that right now. We have tackled, subjects that has gone far beyond anything Twitchpool has ever talked about, said cancelable stuff that Twitchpool has ever said before, just because I was the one that was organizing it. You're welcome. Okay, all right? Because if it was organized by anybody who was not a transgender woman, they would have been obliterated, okay? But anyhow, so my second question is this, okay? In the meantime, one side of the aisle has been saying that since Whick is growing larger and larger, that even his public Discord server is no longer going to remain a safe space from being made into content, especially the general chat. However, the other side of the aisle says that no matter what, the users of the Discord server never consented to be made into content and would never chat there if they were turned into content while being posted online. Do you think that it is reasonable to expect the Discord chat of a public figure to be treated in the public spotlight? If so, to what degree would it be the same as on Twitter? Should it be as reclusive as possible? Discuss.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they don't consent. Oh, you go ahead first.
To be perfectly frank, it feels somewhat ridiculous to imagine that your public-facing servers channels are private. They're public-facing server channels. And insofar as Whick's community like expectation goes, it's never been a safe space. It's barely moderated. Like basically nearly anything goes anyway. So I don't necessarily know I'd make that argument at all.
I think it's reasonable. I'm just gonna say that like it's not this isn't like Brianna Wu isn't the first person this has happened to. Like Discord chats and whatever have been leaked for years. So it's kind of like a norm at this point. So if you had the expectation that it should be private, then you would be kind of naive.
The other thing I'd point out is like, I think all of us here are content creators, and at least I've made it an objective to create a space by moderating it in which people feel safe and secure. And that means telling them sometimes to not say things or to keep it to themselves. So like, I can't change your thoughts, but I can certainly police my space. So if that's the concern, moderate.
True. You have the tools to. Since, especially Whick, since he's growing larger and larger.
Is he? Actually, let's look.
I mean,
I think
that was the claim, so I believe it. I don't check, I just believe.
No disagreement.
No, I think we all agree. You're kind of like silly if you think that you're just not gonna get recorded.
All right, sure.
there's no Whick
Okay,
on
I mean,
Social
if
Blade.
so, yeah. I mean, if so, then we can just go directly to the third question, which is proponents on Sunday's End might argue that promoting a person such as Brianna Wu will be sending a bad message. However, on the other side, pragmatism is more important than simply a few differences. Where would you draw the line between somebody that is too problematic to simply associate with for the sake of pragmatism and making a difference in the real world? When does somebody stop being worth it? Discuss.
Oh God. Holy
I might
shit,
have
she's
some
so
interesting
far.
insight here, actually, because I was involved with, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I was involved with an
Say it.
online community.
No, actually,
And
say it. Why not?
I was involved with the Gamergate conversation. And as a part of that conversation, you know, I obviously interact with a lot of people. And every once in a while, you'd run into a bad actor. And I think that when somebody crosses the line, and those lines might be different for different communities, but I think that something like doxing or sending death threats to people is obviously a line that absolutely can't be crossed. Now, when it comes to something more nuanced like lying, I think that you obviously should call out the lies and be like, hey, look, what you said wasn't true. But I don't know if that means you cut them out entirely. This whole Brianna Wu conversation does have sort of a cancel culture aspect to it. It seems like a lot of the people who hate Brianna Wu want to go after her and like take her down and destroy her publicly. And I don't know if that's like good, actually. I don't know if that's good for society. Like, even if Brianna Wu did lie about this, her public and private views are different. And she is a public figure in the sense of being like a politician, so that's a bit different. But like, to say that she can't like be in the streamer community too is a bit. It feels very much like you're trying to like destroy this person rather than you're trying to claim a scalp. It feels like, and I don't know if that's like good.
Yeah, I don't think the view is that like Brianna Wu can't be in any space or something. I think the issue is just that it's kind of optical suicide. Ironically, I have a pragmatic view on this. I think that it's kind of optical suicide to let Brianna Wu into your movement. Like everywhere she goes, she's kind of like optical hell for whoever side she's on. It's an optical nuke for whichever side lets her in and tries to defend her. And I mean, like, this is like one of many fuck ups, a long history of fuck ups. If this was like a one-off lie, then it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of fucking cringy, but like not that big of a deal at the end of the day. People can reform, people can get better. But she's got like a long fucking history of just like insane lying. Like Takian, you said you were in Gamergate. Do you remember like the literal woo thing? Like literal who, literal woo?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yep. The reason why that
I don't support using that kind of language, to be clear, and I didn't then either.
I mean, I think it's. I don't see the.
I think it's fair. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's like evil or anything, but I don't personally speak that way.
Well, like she in particular, right? The reason why the meme came about is because like she had been like harassed by Gamergate, and like nobody knew who the fuck she was. She had like just made this the fuck up, and like she did this like several times in a row with like fake harassment campaigns, like claimed that somebody was like sending her private death threats. Turns out they were just like a shit poster who didn't send her shit. Said that like the police had arrested them. Turns out they had filmed like the police had arrested them and they had crashed their car on their way to go kill her. And it turns out they were just the shit poster had just crashed their car street racing. She had said like that she like did that fucking crazy Steam green lighting thing. Do you remember that shit, Tachyon?
I
do indeed remember this. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe Kat and I have talked about it actually.
Yeah. She's
But
like,
look,
just gotta walk
obviously,
Yeah.
she obviously blew up that video from the comedian guy who crashed his car. Like obviously that was obviously he was literally a comedy YouTube guy who made all sorts of weird skits. That was obviously fake. And the Steam when she posted that very suspicious topic on her forums, that was very weird and obviously very suspicious. But also she did receive legit harassment on at least one occasion. There was a third-party troll who was not associated with Gamergate called Pterodax, and he actually did send her. He trolled everybody. He trolled pro Gamergate people too. I know people who he harassed. Arguably, I mean, what do you want to call what he did harassment is? But he did send her like he sent her a picture of a gun, and he was a third-party troll not associated with GG. And then also, so to be clear, like she did receive like that actual harassment, and we had like over 50 people mass reporting it on the Gamergate side because we're like, hey, look, this is an actual harassment, this is actual death threats. We don't want our community to be associated with this. So and of course, this guy wasn't even one of us. He was going after our people too. And then of course, Ethan Ralph did actually have like I don't know if you want to call it harassment, but he was on his private. I have logs I can show you. He was a bad actor in Gamergate that no one wanted to associate with for the most part. But he was like a legit bad guy. But he actually did talk about how he wanted to make a hit piece on Brianna Wu, basically, where he wanted to do a live stream show attacking Brianna Wu. And he also did associate himself with doxers.
Well, yeah, but that's like a four-dimensional guilt by association. I think Ethan Ralph's like a piece of shit. Like, I don't think that like him making a fucking hit piece on her and like fucking doing a live stream talking shit on her is like that. I don't think that's harassment.
I don't think it's the end of the world. But like, you could call that harassment maybe. If because like it is weird, dude. Like,
You
why do you
think
want to
someone who
do this?
associates with doxers should be like making exposés and not like making strict claims like do
Absolutely
not harass
not.
this person?
Absolutely not. I don't support Ralph in any way, shape, or form. The vast majority of people in Gamergate condemned him, by the way. Kotaku in Action banned his website. He's on the tier 3 block list. Okay, like this.
Tachyon, would you say Gamergate was a harassment campaign?
I would not say that. I'd say that was the smear that partly Brianna Wu spread. But Brianna Wu also was harassed by some people.
Oof. So you're against Brianna Wu for a completely different reason than these other.
Yeah, he's against her for being right.
I don't think so. I don't think he's against her for being right. I think he's against her for being wrong. I think she just said some crazy shit.
You guys are uniting against you guys are uniting against Brianna Wu for different reasons.
No, me and Tachyon have very similar reasons. We're not different reasons. We both did. I mean, I don't know what Fushaf is all about.
To come back to the
Fushaf, what is wrong with you? Why are you like this?
Come back to the issue at hand. I think the question is not that Brianna Wu should be excluded from a space. I think the question is that Brianna Wu should engage authentically with that space, that she should be held to account for what she views and to speak with her chest when she has a viewpoint. Because that's the standard, I think, that the minimum standard of entry that should be for this space is that you should get up and you should be ready to fight for what you believe in and not sit in the dark and mutter it.
Okay, but we're talking about a
dumb
space
fuck
like
if you ever
Whick.
trust anything she says.
If we're talking about a space like Wick's, then Wick doesn't have standards, so that's ridiculous to say.
Wick is not the only person involved here.
No, but he doesn't have standards, so that's never going to happen.
No, that's fine. My point is not like Wick doesn't have. Oh my god.
No, let me finish. It's one thing to say that she should have standards. Like, yeah, every personal person should have standards for themselves. It's another thing to say that when other people think she doesn't have standards, we should automatically favor those people over what Brianna Wu says. If you're just going to have this one-way narrative that forgets that she may actually have standards for herself that we just don't relate to or notice at the moment, then I think that your narrative is very lacking in actually attacking Wu as a person.
Well, that's not what I said, is it? I said that she should say those things with
No,
her
it
chest
relies
out
on
loud.
it. It relies on that assumption.
How does it rely on that assumption?
Because because if the whole thing is like she should have standards, and if she doesn't, then we should get rid of her.
That's
And
not
if she
what I said,
has standards already, then well,
Yeah, nobody's
who's
saying
gonna
if you have
police
any
that?
standards
Who's
at
gonna
all.
police that?
Things
Who's
out
gonna
loud.
police that?
Who should
If
what?
the issue
What
is there's
thing?
one specific standard, there's one specific standard that we're taking issue with or not upholding, which is like not being a lying piece of shit.
But how do you know the difference between being a lying piece of shit and being wrong? Like somebody mentioned Black Lives Matter earlier.
Because
as far
she
as I
said
looked
one thing in
into it,
privately and a different thing in public.
Publicly proclaims that she did a thing which she in private did the opposite
she
of.
didn't say anything in public for a long time, and then she said something differently in public. Whether or not what she said privately really reflects
What
on
she
her
said in
journey
private.
is a
Oh my god, then
different
she'd be
thing.
lying in private. What she said in private was that she held her views, that she kept her views secret.
It seems to be more about rioting than about BLM, so maybe you should get your
No, it was
facts
specifically
straight.
about BLM. You should get your facts
Nigel,
straight. Go look it up, dummy.
Are you steel manning or do you support Brianna Wu?
I don't. I'm guessing that she's been demonized because that's what Gamergate victims have had happen to them. It's very
I
clear,
wasn't sure
based
where
on
you
the
stood on
rhetoric,
the
that
issue.
Doing
none
no
of you
research on
have
people's
any
work.
actual criticisms of anything she's actually done, and every time you try to hit, you miss.
Okay,
Nine
but,
tells you've once again
but
jumped the
before
gun
you
and done
came
no
in-
research on the topic you're talking about. What was the quote that you
I've
think you're
already
talking about
done
regarding
research
BLM?
on this. I debated
Answer my
Tachyon, you
question.
dumb fuck.
Answer my question, dummy.
What was it?
Look, the question is just, we made a specific claim about her talking about BLM. You said no, it was more about the rioting. What did she say about BLM?
Look, I'll go back to exactly what she said because I have it, and it was about rioting.
It was about BLM and rioting. It was about the rioting that she's blaming BLM for.
Maybe.
So give me a quote then. If like, why are you so afraid of giving me the quote
It was
you want
posted
to have?
publicly. You said that I haven't done my research. You were calling me on my bullshit.
No,
you
I
were
have
trying
it
to
in my
do.
bookmarks. Let me find it.
Go ahead, pull it
You
up.
could just give it to me sooner if you
No,
want.
I want to hear it out of your mouth. It's funny
Of course
that
you do,
way.
because you're too afraid to say it yourself.
We've all seen it. You're the
Well,
only
Nine
person in the
Tails-
dark here.
Nine,
Yeah,
you said
Tachyon,
that.
can you say it?
You said that Gamergate was about harassment, but do you know what percentage of Gamergate people engaged in harassment? Because we have 2 studies on this. It was 0.66% is what one study found. Another study did not look at harassment itself, but looked at negative sentiment and found that only 1.26%, I believe it was 1.26, I can pull it up here, but 1.26% of the people had sent tweets containing negative sentiment towards people. Okay? Like this idea that Gamergate was about harassment is just not true. And I kind of resent that you coming in this space and saying this. I think that you should back it up with some sources if you're going to make accusations against people that I know and that
I think I
that
already have, and
I
you're
care
just
about.
ignoring them. Because I sent you sources, and you're ignoring them. I also sent other forms
Send me
like
YouTube videos.
No, that wasn't it. See, like, this is what I mean, how you've been ignoring my sources. Because if that's all you think that I've sent, then you've clearly been ignoring the non-video sources at your own convenience. The point being that, like, yeah, you can actually critique BLM for the rioting if you do it right. And chances are nobody here who's critiquing her is nuanced enough to tell the difference between if she's critiquing the rioting versus critiquing BLM. And I doubt that any of you actually carry a concern
You don't
for
even know
that
what she said,
criticism,
Nine Tails.
aside from wanting to hold her to a
What are
double
you
standard. By the way, like,
If you're going to accuse me
if
of
we
dodging,
hold-
if you're going
if
to,
we
I haven't
held-
respond to that. If
if
you're going
we
to
held
accuse me of dodging,
anyone
what am I
to a-
dodging?
I'm not done.
One at a time.
Food shops. Can you
You're dodging
restate
the
the
actual
original?
evidence I sent you. Here, I'll send it to you again.
Can you restate the question and then have Nine answer it? Because I feel like she's leaning one way, but I just want to hear her say it. I don't know.
Specifically, like the question I wrote down, right?
Like the pragmatism versus like run them out of town witch hunt type thing, I think.
Okay, so specifically the question I wrote down on the document is, proponents on Sunday's end might argue that promoting a person such as Brianna Wu will be sending a bad message. However, on the other side, pragmatism is more important than simply a few differences. Where would you draw the line between somebody that is too problematic to simply associate with for the sake of pragmatism and making a difference in the real world? When does somebody stop being worth it?
I'm just going to say this much, like, this is not how the space handles most people. Like, most people are not, like, they're not run out because they have a double standard. There are plenty of people who are loved because they have a double standard. Doobie is a perfect example of that. The reason that we see this time and time again, that people have double standards, is because either people evolve or people say some dumb shit and then never actually change it because they thought they said it in private.
So
There are
pragmatic.
You know, the same people who are defending those individuals are defending this one, right? Like, this is like mostly a DGG Twitter retard campaign. Ninetales.
Maybe DGG is the R-Slur campaign, the ableist campaign. Seems more likely.
It seems like you like to make
What are you talking
accusations
about?
against large groups of people, Ninetales.
Without putting
I'm
any
not
effort into
Evidence that
researching it.
DGG is doing bad stuff.
Yeah, they make it easy.
So could I answer?
So if we really want
Wait,
to
wait, wait,
unpack
hold
what
on,
to do
hold
with
on.
Brianna Wu,
Hold on, I want
Let's-
Lucy
well,
to
does
answer
anyone-
first. Because Lucy has been wanting
sorry.
to answer for a little
she's
bit
just
now,
very
so-
quiet for me, so my bad.
Oh, should I speak? Is it
No,
okay
that's
now?
much louder. Yes, that's much louder and
Yeah.
clear. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me personally, the problem is twofold. The problem is, of course, the double standard, but to me, the problem is, of course, what the double standard itself represents. And where I draw the line when it comes to people like Brianna, who is not the bad optics or Brianna who being problematic, but the fact that her private interactions indicate that she's perfectly okay and perfectly willing to discard a whole group from a community in order to further political goals. And that is basically where I draw the line, discarding whole
This-
groups of people to advance a goal.
This doesn't make sense because if she said it in private, then she's not expecting it to disenfranchise the groups that she's supporting publicly.
If she said it in private, that means she's willing to do it in public when it's opportune.
No, it
Well, but
only means that
Ninetales,
she's willing to
like,
do it
to
in
be
private.
fair,
You're trying to
before you
extend this
got
logic
here-
further than it goes.
But before you got here, we were debating on whether the expectation should be that if you were posting something in private as a person of whatever significance, that should the assumption be that it's public anyways, because the likelihood of somebody posting it is so high. That's the context you don't have right now. That's why I think why Lucy said is actually kind of reasonable.
No, because most professional interactions between streamers are done in confidence.
Hardly any are.
But there was more than just streamers
Speak
there.
for yourself.
Right?
Pardon?
There was more than just streamers there. Like, am I wrong? Was that just not like a general chat, or not a general chat, like a private chat? Like, not everyone there was a streamer.
No, I don't agree that. Okay, just to be clear, I don't agree. Whick server was private. So if she's saying that that's in private, I disagree. If she said something in a private message, and I'm pretty sure it was a private message, if I'm not mistaken. It's the thing that she said in Whick server that seems to contradict it.
No, it's the
We know
the
that.
thing that we're talking about is not the
No,
Wix server
she-
thing. The thing that's being talked about is the group chat.
How many people are in this group chat?
I don't know.
How
That
closed off is it
isn't-
supposed to be?
That information wasn't disclosed. Only the information relevant to her hypocrisy was
Like it could be,
disclosed.
it could be two. It could just be one extra person, then it counts as a
There was
group
like 5
chat.
to 6 that you could observe, probably. Like, it wasn't small.
Well, 5 to 6 is pretty small,
No,
especially
at
if those
least
are like
5 to
people
6.
that you would
No,
know.
no, no,
If those are
at
people that
least
you would
5 to
know.
6.
Because but there's a lot of discourse coming from a lot of people. So I'm just saying that because I saw like 5 to 6 people say something, but there was a lot going on, like people replying to replies and stuff. So
It's important to remember that this tacitly supports the act of leaking DMs, which I will not condone. Like, I think what people say in private should be kept private.
Insane views. Look, I don't see
I-
anything
the
that's
perfect
super
world-
fucked up in
Insane
private,
views.
so everyone should see all of my messages in private.
Well,
The
here's
perfect
here's
world,
a
yes.
here's a question that I think we could ask too. The people who want Brianna Wu gone from this space, what do you think should happen to her? What does that look like in practice? Because that kind of is important here.
Are
No,
are
fuck,
any of
I don't
those
think anybody
people
else
here?
wanna-
Well, I just wanted to point
I
out,
don't
does
think you
anyone,
just want
does
that.
anyone who's
I'm
speaking
kind of
against her have
conflicted.
real constructive criticism for her? Do you have any constructive criticism?
Do you
I
actually
mean,
Yeah,
maybe
understand
that's
what
not
she
lying.
said
Yeah.
in this
Skills
chat?
issue.
Like,
Maybe it's just a skills issue, and like this is why you want to get rid of her.
So true.
I don't
The-
think that I. Sorry, go for it. Did I just?
Sorry, my push to talk was fucked up there for a second. Yeah, I don't think that the reason why anybody here is like wants to criticize her is because we want her like out of the space forever or something. I think that the two big pieces of criticism for Brianna Wu are: one, stop constantly fucking lying and seek therapy for that. There has to be some reason why you constantly do this thing where you seek attention by lying publicly. And two, maybe take a fucking break for just a little bit and come back and stream like a normal person, stream video game content. Maybe politics is not the place for somebody who doesn't have the ability to handle this kind of situation. You can't do that. You can't like do politics if it's the case you're going to constantly fucking lie. People aren't going to trust you. It's your
Listen,
bad
maybe
optics.
you could
decide
also
to lie.
not narrate her experience as
Fine.
lying when you don't actually know what's in her heart.
I do know that
We
the
have
thing she said is that she
publicly
lied.
seen her lie.
About what?
She's
About the
posted.
fact that she said that her public view is that she was silent on the BLM issue. She was silent on the BLM issue because of the fact that she thought there was resentment on there. She said that she was a cybersecurity expert during a congressional campaign. She said that both of her parents were
Well,
millionaires.
she said she was against the rioting that
She said that
BLM
both
did,
of her
which is a
parents. No, she said
common.
the BLM riots. She called them the BLM riots, right? So let's get
Yes,
correct.
it's common for BLM people to
Jesus
be
Christ.
against the riots. That's nothing new.
It's common for BLM people to be against the riots. I
Yes.
agree. Saying you were silent on it is different. Saying something like, I am against the riots. There's a big difference between I was silent on the riots despite knowing I had an issue with them, and saying something like, I am not against the riots.
You were part of that you're making assumptions of. The people in that conversation already had the context. You're seeing the conversation out of context and assuming that that's what she meant.
I assume that she meant the words she said?
Yeah, because
obviously. That's how words work.
Were in the context that they understood. When they
What
heard
context
that,
do you think is gonna fix the situation of her obviously admitting to lying? What's the
Do
context?
you understand why journalistic integrity involves adding context to things like this and not just quotes?
Adding
People?
context. Sometimes adding relevant
Yeah, you
context.
don't just
not
quote
adding the
quotes.
entire message history.
So, if anything, for you, how do you know that this DM or like her other view or what she said publicly doesn't add context to her private DMs?
Because she said that she kept silent on an issue she had publicly. She said she kept silent on it.
Well, yeah, because maybe she doesn't want to actually like hurt the BLM movement. Maybe she's not as against it as you're narrating.
Oh, no.
her as
She gave
being.
us her motivations. She didn't want the trouble. She didn't want the fucking backlash. Did you read any of these? Are you just talking out of your ass?
Seems like she's aware of the consequences of her actions and avoiding it by what you're saying.
Yeah,
And yes, I did.
exactly. She's aware that people will be mad at her if she says this. So because she's fucking
No, she's aware
spineless,
that it
she's
would
not
hurt
saying it.
people to
No, that's not what she said. No, that's not what she said. She gave her motivations, Ninetales. Is that she didn't want the trouble. She didn't want the backlash. That's not saying something like, I don't want to hurt the movement. That's saying it will be bad for me.
It sounds like she's picking her battles. Like, it's all perception in there.
If you pick your battles by going silent on an issue that you think the left is wrong on, you're fucking silent. I think you're fucking spineless.
She's
Yeah,
only
but if
one
you're
Yeah,
silent,
plenty of people are only one person.
Okay, people partition their energy for particular things that she didn't feel like she was able to do it. If that was part of the reason, then I don't know, like I would sympathize with that.
If you're publicly defending the fucking leftist movement when they're doing fucked up shit, and then privately you're saying, man, I just don't want the trouble, then I think you're a spineless piece of shit. And I think any reasonable person would come away with the exact same impression. That if you're publicly
this is
saying
just
one
optic.
thing and
This
then
is just
secretly saying another, you're a spineless piece of shit.
Do you ever argue from optics?
I think there's a big difference between optics and lying. I don't think it's good optics to lie.
You would just create an imaginary group of people who agree with your point, right?
What are you talking about?
You just said you think most reasonable people would agree with your take.
I think most reasonable people would do that. I don't think most reasonable people are imaginary.
Okay, you're imagining a group of people who would agree with your point because I think to everyone else, like, we don't know that.
You don't know that. Yeah, most reasonable people would agree with this because it's pretty fucking transparent.
Well, that's a pretty strong belief that you have. That gives me even less reason to believe that fact.
What's the counter argument? Silence is the counter argument?
No,
Anything else?
The argument is that I don't think that you're speaking to a popular opinion the way that you're trying to make it seem like you are.
Most people don't think if you're a fucking political activist who runs a super PAC, who ran a congressional campaign, that if you're saying, I didn't speak out on this issue because of the fact that I didn't want the backlash, that you're a piece of shit? You don't think most people have an issue with that?
I think she's doing good optics.
You people are so disconnected. Log off.
I think optics. I think when you have a super PAC, that's when optics matter more than anything.
You think when you have a super PAC, optics matter more? I agree. Optics do matter more. And lying is bad optics.
Optics?
I don't think she lied. She didn't lie.
Right?
What do you think a lie is, Ninetales?
It's not being silent on an issue. That's for goddamn
What is a lie?
It's not being silent on an issue. That's
Answer
for
the
goddamn
question,
sure.
you weasel. I know you don't think this is a lie.
No,
what is a
I'm
lie?
calling out what you're doing, which is making it out to be being silent on something, which is not what a lie is.
I know you disagree with me, Ninetales. What do you think a lie? What do you think a lie is? Just answer the question.
I get that you feel
actually of the
clever right
opinion
now,
that no
Sam.
one needs to engage. Like you're using a rhetoric tactic right now. I
A
don't think
rhetoric
people need to
tactic of
engage.
asking what a lie is.
I don't think that people need to.
Because you know
You
what a lie is.
publicly
You
are
know I
saying
know what a lie
BLM. If you're publicly
you know
saying
what a lie
BLM is okay,
You
there are
know-
no riots, there's nothing wrong with what they're
Okay.
doing,
You
and
know
then
what a
privately
lie
saying
is.
you're fucking
Closing
silent,
question.
You
that's
know
a
what a
lie.
lie is.
One
You know I know what a lie is.
At a time, one at a time.
I just want to point out, Synth knows what a lie is. Synth knows I know what
You
a lie
don't.
is. This is
No,
all
I
this
don't.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Answer the question then. Make it nice
Kinda
and clear
seems
for
like
me. What is a lie?
Kind of seems like stupid semantics to me.
It's not semantics to ask you what the fuck you mean. Semantics
Why
is
don't
like,
you
that's not the
answer
real
it?
definition,
To create
like you
it-
did.
To turn it into a qualifier for the conversation is still a rhetoric.
I'm asking for
Correct.
one
Prove us
clear
wrong.
fucking answer to a question.
Answer it for us and prove you have a
You're
definition
gonna,
that
you're gonna have
qualifies
to
your
wipe your tears
example.
because you won't get
I
it.
think that actively choosing to promote false beliefs is lying. I think lying by omission is still
That's a
lying. I
shitty
think most people
definition.
agree lying by
You haven't
omission is a
even
kind of
started
lying.
with a good
Hence why
definition
it's
of
called lying by omission and not saying everything by omission.
But you also know that every politician out there chooses their views based on optics. So this is nothing new, and you're freaking out over literally a nothing burger.
This is just a pivot. Now you're saying, oh, well, all the other politicians also lie.
no, this is just
That's
autism on your part. Like
It's
I'm
autism on
autistic.
my
This is
part to have an
autism.
issue with politicians lying.
Yes. You're hearing this
Yes,
from an
because
autistic
you're
person.
hyper-focused
You have
on a
Down
small
syndrome. Don't
element
tell other
of
people
the
they're
whole
autistic.
fucking issue.
I'm not using hyperfixation to understand the
Ableism.
topic. You were
This
just
is
stupid.
fucking
You're using
ableism at the end of the day.
hyperfixation. Focus on one specific issue when you yourself acknowledge she's a political figure who is going to factor in optics into
goody.
everything she fucking does. So you are focused on one specific element of this whole issue.
Art.
There's a wildly different issue between I'm factoring in optics and I'm misrepresenting my views because of optics.
No,
So
you're
because
trying
she's
not
a
to
political
factor in
figure,
optics.
there's optic considerations that she makes that we all understand.
It's
that
bad
politicians
optics
do.
to lie. I don't think you
Focusing
retards get
on
this.
one
You don't
issue.
have good optics when you're
focusing
constantly
on
fucking
one
lying.
issue.
Cynthia, hold on. I gotta say something.
Wait, calm down. Agnostic just joined. All right. What do you have to say?
Are you really going to be claiming that Brianna Wu, of all people, is the one who needs to be checked for lying about pretty much anything?
True.
Anything.
Let's explain
President
who this individual
Sunday.
is.
No, hold.
This is
President Sunday.
Origin, who
The
paid $20
guy.
to be
No,
humiliated
hold
by
on.
Sunday on
No,
screen.
Daedalus. We're not talking about me right now. Okay, chill.
Oh, yes, we
Wait,
are.
he's not. I thought he was being so. Oh no, you're
Just
serious?
Sunday.
Yes.
Who is this person? Who
Your
is this
job.
person?
Quiet.
You're just
Who
here
is
to
this
do a
person?
your job, bro.
Wait, who is this person?
This is Origin of Language, or Logos. I think he's
Daedalus,
changed
you're
his channel
you're
to
not
now.
saying anything about stuff
So
that's
he
not
paid-
relevant to
he
this
paid Sunday
discussion.
$20.
This
to
is not
humiliate
relevant
himself
to
on
the
screen.
discussion, Daedalus.
And he
How
turned
about you
around
keep
and got a
sucking his
hate
dick
boner for him
because
afterwards.
You're talking over each other. Stop, please.
Let me actually
Agnostic,
say
you
what
had
I
a
need to
question. You
say.
had a question for me. Your question was something about Brianna Wu lying, right? Am I actually going to say Brianna Wu's the one to lie? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can say that Brianna Wu, like, sure, she probably lies. We all lie, of course. But
Constantly.
sure, but here's the
Her
thing.
career's built
If you're
off of
going
it.
to talk about somebody who is like the king of lying, the king of doing whatever he can to break boundaries, to backstab people, to try to have good connections with certain people, but only then to be a little snake and to go into people's servers
This is
and to
also loaded.
screenshot everything and doesn't
Yeah,
have
when are you
any
pitching
sort of
off-
code of
pitching off this
honor
part of a
for
sentence, Gnostic?
anybody.
So I can answer
Sorry.
your question. Are you done? Can I answer your question? Or
No, I'm not done yet because
Let me know when you're
I
done.
think it's hilarious that you are going to be attacking Brianna Wu of all people
You already said this.
instead of the one person who has constantly gone after people with little to no evidence, who frames things in the most dishonest, backstabbing shit. And yet, the one person, the one target that we really need to focus on is Brianna Wu of all people. Oh my God, Brianna Wu!
How
And
many
not
lies
President
can you
Sunday,
name
a
that?
guy who
Listen.
is
Oh my God, he
constantly
keeps
burning
going.
bridges.
Are you normally like this?
Yes,
Wait,
he's
calm down.
basically
let's
an idiot.
Try to, listen, guys. Let's try to make this productive. Let's do this.
Can I answer the
one point
question,
at a
Pucha, the
time,
Gnostic
okay?
asked?
So that we can just look. Let's make this productive, and everybody is human beings here. Okay, all right. So unless
Arguable.
we see each other as animals, all right. Let's try to have a productive conversation. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stardust says bring her in.
Look, I want to go through all the fucking. I want to go through the long history of fucking examples, and we can see if you think it's the case that President Sunday is the king of lying, and Brianna Wu isn't the fucking queen of it. So she lied about her fucking double major. She lied about being a cybersecurity expert. And fucking campaign advertisements. She lied about homelessness during her fucking campaign. She rose to fame during Gamergate by lying about being harassed by them when nobody knew who the fuck she was. She lied about Total Biscuit being a transphobe, about him being a sexist, about him being a racist. She lied about the fact that like his fucking entire legacy is toxic gamers who harassed her. Like, do you want to keep going, Gnostic?
I'm not going to say I know all of that is to be true. I'm not going to say all of that.
When she initially said the Gamergate harassed her, nobody knew who the fuck she was. She lied about it.
I'm pretty sure she posted some videos about Gamergate before anyone knew her and posted some, like, an expose. But she didn't say anyone harassed her until after she was harassed. Yeah, she did.
Well, let me ask you this then.
No, she didn't. Hold on. When was the date in which she was Ninetales? When was the date in which she was harassed?
Okay, I have to look this up because I'm bad with dates.
Do you have an approx? Do you know the year?
Hang on, wait. I have some receipts here that might be useful. Okay.
Do you know the year, Ninetales? You don't know the year.
Can I ask you a follow-up question real quick?
This is so non-serious. So go ahead.
Down.
Yeah, I'm super not calm right now. You're super chill.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, Synth?
Spurging? Really? Neva, the entire conversation you've had fucking meltdowns and couldn't address arguments. You're not looking good here.
I'm pretty sure that your behavior is more conducive to anger than mine is, but that's okay.
I'm pretty sure actually you're the angry one, and I am super calm right now. Really, that's the best argument you got?
You have like no emotional intelligence, right? You just can't identify emotions, and I think screwing over people and defending.
Yeah, but why are you talking right now? Let the other person talk. They're making actual arguments.
You're defending the removal of somebody who's actually effective because you don't.
What has she done that's effective? What has she done that's effective, Neva?
I think that sorry, my name is Neve, by the way. I don't know why you can't read.
Because your name looks the exact same as Neva. I'm sorry.
Well,
Neve, answer the question.
So you didn't know the name, you didn't know how to say it, and I'm telling you that now. So
can you even read? Not being rude or insulting. I posted
in the Discord.
You are right. You called other people autistic and constantly not realizing you're insulting.
Are you okay?
I think it's a fair question.
I posted some evidence in the Discord here. That's directly relevant.
I think your response is trying to like mock someone or laugh at your
everything that you said this. You haven't made any argument. When you start making arguments, I start mocking you. Yeah.
Anything else? Sorry.
Yeah, I made arguments.
Doesn't even understand the
She's broken. Oh my god, she's looping.
This doesn't even understand the timeline beyond root. The first thing she did was make a passing joke about Gamergate. The first thing she did was make a passing joke about Gamergate. The first thing Brianna did was make a passing joke about Gamergate. And this was September 19th of 2015 or 14. And she got harassed for that. So get your fucking back straight.
She didn't get harassed for that. Nobody knew who she was.
I posted evidence. I posted evidence in the Discord. Look, nobody in Gamergate, sorry, the vast majority of people in Gamer, I should say, did not support harassing
That's not proof she didn't get harassed, Tachyon. No one.
That means
I'm not saying that nobody on the internet
for astronomically low. She got harassed later on, down the line, once people knew who the fuck she was.
A shit ton of people, and it's only because of a sampling bias, and they didn't get a big enough sample.
Because of a sampling bias, really?
Not because they literally sampled everything.
What's the issue with the sampling?
What are you even talking about? Are you talking about the Women Action Media Study, or are you talking about the Brand Watch?
Selective to particular groups that weren't totally representative of game.
I'm not even talking about the Women Action Media Study. We can talk about that study if you want to, but I'm not talking about that study in this case. I'm talking about the specific claim about whether or not let's make specific claims, Ninetales, because you never want to make specific claims. You always want to make vague. Well, this community is evil, hateful, misogynist. You always want to say big claims. Let's make specific accusations, okay?
Yeah.
Brianna Wu, Gamergate supported harassing Brianna Wu. Huh? Does that seem to be true? Well, let's see. We have studies that show it's not true. Let's also look at. You don't like the studies, okay? Well, let's look at this. What about when Pterodax, a third-party troll, did harass Brianna Wu? How did Gamergate respond? I posted evidence of this here. Look at this. All these people on Twitter were all saying, mass report this, everybody. All these people, #Gamergate, get this out of here. And then, look at this. Everyone on Reddit, too, was saying, absolutely,
and
this person.
That there is still evidence that the harassment outweighed these actions. I can find something that says that if you like.
Give us studies. One study, Ninetales.
I will.
What study are you thinking about? There isn't one. You made it up.
Tachyon 0.66 study.
Have you considered? You think
Hey,
that
Nine
study? You
Pistols,
think
can
that
I
one
ask you
proves
a
your
question?
point? You go ahead, Nostik.
Look, I'm looking at the thing you asked.
Okay. Well, I actually just wanted to ask Cynthia a follow-up question after he gave me all of this list of things that Brianna Wu must have done. I'm not going to say I know
Must
for a
have?
fact that she's done all of this. Look,
We do.
I don't know all the information, so maybe it's true, but for the sake of argument, let's say all of it is true. Who do you think is in a better position to
It
expose
was
this?
October.
A journalist, like an actual accredited journalist out in the real world, or President fucking Sunday?
I don't think the president
guy
is in a good
who-
position to do exposés. Who cares?
Wait, what?
I don't
President
care.
Sunday's a fucking clown, and if anybody takes him seriously, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, that is my favorite lolcow. President Sunday is my favorite lolcow. I only watch him to laugh. I really only watch him to laugh. And you guys, if you're watching it for news, I don't know, you guys, I don't know what to say. Good
That's
luck.
a bad taste in lolcows. Like Brianna's a better lolcow. She's got like a funnier
not.
history.
She's
so
not
much
even
better.
a lolcow.
Oh come on, the fucking
Yes,
Steam
yes.
greenlighting page. That's so funny.
She explained it in an interview with me.
I've seen her explanation. No, guys, don't worry. I was
What was her
honeypotting
explanation anyway, Stardust?
that. It was 4D chat.
Yes, she
No,
wanted
it wasn't 4D chess.
She
It was
wanted
homie. It was specifically that her page was already getting flooded with people like who hated her, and so
Wait, that's
she
not
thought-
true though. Wait, let's
wait,
go through
let
the
me
logs.
finish what I'm saying,
Okay,
motherfucker.
sorry.
Did I
Hey.
finish fucking saying what I was saying? No, I didn't. Shut the
Here
fuck
comes
up.
the
you
ramble.
fucking
Go ahead,
idiot.
Stardust. Just spit it out.
All right. Okay. So what I was saying is that basically she said that she was already getting a whole bunch of hate comments on her page, on her Steam page. So she tried to like kind of make a quarantine or whatever by like making a thing so that everybody would just go into that one thread and spam all their hate there instead of like all over her page. So
Yeah, because that's how the
Yeah, that
internet
makes
works.
no sense. That's like the most hilarious possible excuse. It was secretly to make sure that if I made one more thread,
It wasn't
they would
a
all go to this
secret.
one. Because there were too
It
many
wasn't a
people making threads. So if I make one
No,
more
it
thread,
wasn't a
there will be
secret.
less
It wasn't a
threads.
secret.
It wasn't what?
It wasn't a secret.
What wasn't a secret?
Like you're talking. Oh, you said you completely strawman like the explanation that I gave.
I didn't strawman the explanation. I
Yeah,
made fun
you
of it.
did.
The explanation you gave was that the other ones. But for some reason, I made this thread and then deleted it instantly afterwards. For some
Okay.
reason.
Well, because she
hang on,
realized it wasn't working. Like, I mean, what else do you want me to say?
No.
you
Of
know?
course it wasn't working. Nobody thought it would work. She didn't think it would work to
So-
quarantine
Bro,
people.
No,
it's like
neither of you
She
know what the
knew
hell you're
exactly
talking
what she was
about.
doing.
Guys,
What's a
hell?
hilarious
I'm
typical
excuse?
boomer shit thing to do. Okay. Holy shit.
She's a
I've
boomer
done
who's like owns
more
a game
boomer
development
shit.
studio. Really?
I've done
It was
more
a boomer thing. She left her
shit.
account logged in.
Well, hang on,
Lamination
guys.
studio.
This is so funny.
One at a time, please. Thank you.
No, we're
so
not
much.
doing one at a time. Do you want content or not? Jesus Christ. Okay. This guy, Tack. Okay, you shut up. Did I tell you could speak, Tack? Did I?
I give TAC permission to speak.
What?
I will defend TAC.
Fuck you, Tack. You do not have permission to speak.
Go
Since
ahead, Tack.
you
Well, hang on. Wait, no, hang on. What the fuck is this?
You literally
Why are you being
say
so
the
hostile to me?
stupidest
Look,
shit that I have ever heard in my life. Since
Here comes the
every
ramble.
fucking-
Spit out the
every
arguments,
time
Stardust.
You fucking
Here comes
speak,
Stardust with the argument.
Every time you fucking speak, I swear
No
I have
argument.
brain
Just
fluid
ramble.
that leaks out of my ears. Okay, I have to wipe it up at night.
You don't
My-
have any
my-
brain fluid to leak out of your ears. Tard does.
That sounds like a
God, what's
condition.
wrong
Came
of
into the
coaches
stream with
seeking
no
out the cover.
arguments.
Hey, Synth, can you stop with the double standard shit? It's really stupid.
What double
Come on,
standard?
dude.
What double standard?
Like you're telling people like stop screeching and all this, but that's all you've been doing, dude.
Do you
Like,
think I told people
come
to
on.
stop screeching? I just want arguments. I don't give a fuck if you're loud when you argue.
Have you given an argument? I haven't
Yes.
heard one.
Yes. I've given you several. Want me to repeat them?
Try it.
There's not a chance
You made
that
the
Oregon
argument that I
understands what
can't
an
call
argument
Brianna Wu a
is.
liar because President Sunday lies more often. I just
Because
told you,
President
instead of
Sunday
pointing
is
out the
the
fucking fallacy, I just
definition
pointed
of a
out.
liar.
It doesn't matter.
President
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's tangential.
Now.
I gave the
Two
argument that
women
look at all
abroad.
of these fucking examples. Clearly,
He's
Brianna Wu's a chronic
accused
fucking liar.
NSC
Clearly,
abroad.
any standard by which President
He's
Sunday
accused
lies too often
Brianna
is one that
Wu
Brianna
abroad.
Wu fits too. Her entire career is based on a fucking lie that she told. She
It's
made up
not.
fake harassment.
She's
Nobody knew who the fuck
legit-
she was.
She made a game, did she not? Did she not
No.
make a game?
She
No?
did begin, actually. Yeah,
During
she
the
did.
point,
Revolution
Revolution 60 wasn't out when she had her career. Her fucking career came from Gamergate, from Gamergate, grabbing their fucking attention
Gamergate was a
by
good experience for her? You think she got a career out of that?
She intentionally provoked Gamergate into fucking following her. That's her entire goal.
From what I could tell, it was a
You can't
complete
tell anything,
mistake.
Stardust.
And then, yeah, I can, bro. And
No, you can't,
might
bro.
find your fucking ass, bro. Okay, let me
That's
finish
too
what I
much
was
to
saying
eat.
before.
Too many
When
fucking calories, Stardust.
Well, you guys are just being bad faith. Let's examine.
In my fucking
let's
mouth
examine.
than you ever could. Okay,
I bet you could fit more shit in your mouth. I bet you could.
I bet you
guys,
wish you could swallow the amount of dicks I can in my mouth. Okay, I can suck way more dick than you fucking asshole.
That's true.
Okay, so I just want to point out, I posted something in trade stream chat. Stardust, yeah, we get it. You're tough. I posted something in trade stream
I like
chat
Stardust more than
Aren't
Ninetales.
you a
about
fucking Nazi?
Brianna
Like,
Wu
shut
stuff.
the fuck up. You have
Yeah,
no
Ninetales, you're literally a fucking fascist.
About the Brianna Wu stuff.
I know that your alt account is named Adolf
Ninetales
Ninetales.
said some real sus
Oh
shit
my
about
god, I
black
posted
people.
stuff in
I know
trade
for a
stream
fact
chat.
that Ninetales has said some real
Stardust, what did she say?
Hang on, guys. If we're gonna make specific claims,
Just say, what did Ninetales? Because Ninetales is one of my orbiters. What did she say?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, what did you say?
No, you got receipts? You're the one making the accusation.
I mean,
Burden of proof,
yeah,
bitch.
I'm pretty sure you know what it is. You know what it is.
Wait, Stardust.
You were talking about
Do I now?
The burden of proof is
She's just bag post.
Stardust.
hang on,
Wait, what?
hang on, guys. If we're gonna
cheering for me.
Guys, can we
I'm
talk
cheering for
about
you. Yeah, actually,
specific?
Ninetales.
So, Stardust, you said that a bunch of people were posting topics on her forums that were harassing her. But if you look at, I
No, I
posted,
didn't say harassing, but yeah, they were posting like messages that were like hate and stuff.
but if you look, there are only 2 other posts on her forum when she made the post. I posted the archive in the Discord
I
chat.
showed her the screenshot, and she said that she made that one forum thingy, that one topic, so she could try and quarantine it, so at least like all the hate would go into one place. But you know,
Anything about that strike you was like maybe not true?
no.
Or silly.
It's something that I
Okay.
would do.
Well, do you
Stardust
think
is
that,
the most
But
gullible
do you
person of all
look? Do you want to
time.
talk about look? Obviously, look. Some people did harass Brianna Wu, and that's obviously awful. No one supports that in any way, shape, or form. But you said Gamer wasn't a good experience for her. She was making $13,000 a month in donations, right? Look, she was making $13,000 a month in donations.
She had to get like 5 years of therapy for it.
I mean, maybe she did. I don't know, but I don't know about her personal life. I don't care about her personal life.
She was literally diagnosed with
fucking
PTSD.
Sunday, the accuser
She was
of
diagnosed
women.
with fucking PTSD.
Accuser of women, slayer of wenches.
You're welcome.
Accused Brianna Wu fraud.
Okay, I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time.
Males first, okay?
All right, Sunday, please just go first. Okay, just.
I was waiting. I guess that's Daedalus. Floor is yours.
Oh no, go ahead, Sunday. I've been enjoying.
I've got nothing to
myself.
say. I just heard there was a hullabaloo and I thought I'd jump in.
No,
I thought you couldn't. I thought you were trying to avoid the public eye. What happened?
Nah, nobody watches.
He heard that
it's
I
all
could
good.
suck so
That was
many
a
dicks
joke.
in
I
one-
like you for your
He
chops.
said he heard that I could suck a lot.
I like you. No, I'm sorry. It's the joke. It's the joke.
Anyways, I just want to point out, Taki has to be fucking delusional to not realize she got diagnosed.
Bro, I'm challenging. Who am I challenging on sucking dicks? What?
Well, look, maybe she did. I don't know, dude. I don't know about her personal life. I don't care about
Yeah,
her
of course you
personal
don't
life.
know.
I care about
You don't
specific
actually
claims
know the
that you want to make.
timeline of the. You don't know anything about the victims. You only know about your side and how to do damage control.
I don't think that the people that I
don't think he's
associate
doing
with
damage
do
control.
not
I
engage
think
with.
I know 100% he's doing damage control. I've debated him.
He's not. He just
Are
is
we
not
still-
aware of real.
Okay,
Can somebody-
I read
can-
it. I'm like you, Stardust. So
Okay,
fuck off.
Ninetales, you can shut the fuck up.
Do you know what
Again,
media
I
literacy
remember
is?
You
Do you
said
know what
some
media
real
literacy
fucking
is?
sus shit
You
about
might
know what
be
media
punished.
literacy
What is the
is?
first
Is there a
law of
moderator?
media literacy, Ninetales?
There is.
Food shops.
Ninetales, I have seen you
She
say
doesn't
Food
know what
shops.
media
crazy
literacy
Can I have a quick
is.
You do
question?
not have
She
a
doesn't know.
Hold on, Stardust, please, Stardust. When you go on these rambles, like I can barely hear you because of like the overlapping voices, and the Discord is like disabling the voices, like just because of how the Discord technical function works. Anyway, Sunday, what is the question?
Yeah, can somebody sort of orient me as to where we are?
I'm
So
talking
we
about
are
I was
is that I
sucking
have
so
no
many
idea.
dicks.
We are
and
discussing
Sterling
where we
came in
draw
to
the
challenge
We're
line.
at the
me
point
and
where
sucked
What
my
about
dick.
dicks?
Tachyon is trying to do damage control for
I literally have not
Gamergate,
seen
no
any of this
parameter.
until now.
This
President Sunday, why don't we talk about you doxing
Hold
earlier on
stop,
Twitter?
Stop. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait. When I am talking,
What do I dox on
nobody else
Twitter?
talks.
What?
Wait, when I am talking, nobody else talks, or I will crush your ball sacks until it's a raisin. Okay, hold on. Okay, so hold on. How about this? Okay, all right. There are two different conversations going on right now. Can we just stop with the Gamergate shit? Nobody gives a fuck about Gamergate. Okay, all right.
I like
okay,
Gamergate.
Okay, all right.
I like the Gamergate shit, not Gamergate. Gamergate bad, but the Gamergate event is mildly interesting.
Okay, whatever. So the second thing, all right, second thing is that
That was bad trouble.
Stardust is
Goddamn.
accusing President Sunday of being a liar. Now what
Being a what?
is a lie? What is
Oh
a
no,
lie?
I can say, look here. President Sunday is accused not so erudite of being a fraud in a very, very serious manner.
Yep.
And now President Sunday is accusing
And she
Brianna
is.
Wu of being a fraud.
Oh yeah. By the way, in the same way, oddly enough, as Kyle as well. It's funny.
I am just outlining here's a pattern of behavior here. Also, let's not forget that President Sunday aired out all of her not so erudite shit, all of her personal information in one place, collected,
I don't-
aggregated
what?
her
No, I
personal info, and fucking doxed her.
No, I didn't. I have
Yeah,
access.
you did.
I had access.
Yeah,
I had
you
access.
did. Yeah,
I had
you did.
access.
You compiled it in one
I
area.
had
That
access.
is considered doxing. That is considered doxing.
Well, no, because I literally only use information that she had already compiled in social media
I'm
under
pretty sure
both
you
names
went-
simultaneously.
No, you went and you emailed somebody from her school, bro.
I didn't
Did
get
you
any
not-
information from her school.
We all
I didn't.
saw that. We all. Saw
I didn't
that
ask about her
email.
though. But I didn't Stardust. I didn't ask about her when I called the school.
No, you reached out to her school. We were no. We
Yeah, I emailed. Yeah. So, are you going to allow me to speak?
No, where? No.
Are you going to allow me to speak, Stardust?
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Stardust. But you've been talking the entire time. So
Yes.
Yeah. So when I messaged the school, I was inquiring as to whether or not the degree or the certificate or the credential, in other words,
Did you or did you not?
that Kyla, I'm not finished. I'm not finished
Wait,
speaking.
how does
Of
that-
course, it's her school. She said on like Fresh and Fit, which she said which school
Yes.
she goes to.
You
She said her
compiled
program.
information.
This is
Did
no.
you or did you not compile her information then?
No.
I'm sorry. What? I'm
Did
not.
you or
I'm
did
gonna.
you
I'm
not
gonna.
compile her information.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try to finish a sentence because I understand that like the soft approach with Richard Spencer didn't really work out so well for you, but in this case it actually kind of helps if I'm able to respond to what you say. So
I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad that you brought.
I'm
that
glad. I'm glad that of the two of us. I'm glad that of the two of us.
Really good one.
I'm glad that of the two of us, you're the one who's
Focus on the points only.
famous
so we
for.
can actually move forward in this very calm chit chat. Okay, so point first. Let's do it. Yes.
Point.
Yes.
Who's going first?
Sunday, you go first, and then Stardust. will
Okay, on my
probably
screen you're
take
pointing
her-
at Stardust, so I was confused. Yeah, so Natsa Erudite made specific claims about her qualifications. So I asked the university, hey, given these qualifications, I didn't say any names, would I be entitled to say that I am of the profession of X, Y, or Z? And they answered, I'm perfectly within my rights to do so. In fact, the fact that she's giving qualifications is an invitation to check that out because that's the purpose of qualifications. That's what they're for. They tell people that, hey, if you back check me, I have training and I have approval to call myself X, Y, and Z and to perform X, Y, and Z tasks. It's very simple.
Sunday,
You could do the same thing to me.
Add to that,
Wait.
if I may add to that real quick, because you didn't just do that, Sunday. What you did was actually very dishonest. You didn't you didn't email her saying like, what would I need to do in order to be considered a psychometrist or something like that? You didn't say that. Instead, what you said was, hey, I have
Could
this
I-
certain
could I-
thing.
could I call
Does that mean
myself-
I can be a psychometrist?
Well,
it's like
origin.
dishonest.
Well, hang on one sec. There's things to
Because
answer
it
that.
would be honest.
No. Jesus Christ, people. It's the same question. So if I say, can I do this? The reply is going to be, no, you can't because you would need X, Y, and Z to do this. And that's the answer I received.
No, you framed it in such a way. What you should have said
But
was,
they're the same.
what
The
would I
answer
need
is
to
the same
earn?
origin.
No, it's-
The
how
import
do
of the
you know
question
that?
is
It's
identical.
not.
How do you know
No,
that,
it's
Sunday?
not.
Did you test it?
Yes, the question was, can I
So,
call
did
myself?
you send both emails?
Can I call myself? Yes. Can I call myself this title if I have this certificate? And if the answer is no, then I know the answer to the other question. What do I need more than this title? They're functionally the same. I'm not trying to become those things. I just wanted to know, am I one given these credentials? That's a perfectly
That's
reasonable
not
thing.
really what you did,
but
but anyway, also
That's exactly what I did. It's in the letter.
Initial
Wait, hold on, one at a time, stop. Now I want to hear from Stardust. Why this is not exactly what Sunday did. And I only want to hear from Stardust. If I hear from anybody else, I will be booting you. I'll be scrunching up your testicles. Okay, Stardust, go.
Sunday is the most pathetic piece of shit I have ever seen in my life.
Please.
But wait. Even more than you had Richard
I'm-
Spencer on stream. Are you sure? That's
yes,
pretty bad. I'm worse than Richard Spencer, huh?
Yes, you are.
Really?
Because
Huh.
at least that dude is fucking honest about what he believes. If he's anti-Semitic,
Really?
he will be honest about it. Okay? You are a piece of shit who will lie about other people and ruin their fucking careers. You got somebody fired. You got this random, let's see here, academic agent person fired because
I didn't get him
they
fired.
happened. Yeah, you did. You did.
I didn't. No,
Yeah,
he got him.
you
He got him.
You
No,
did.
actually, he wasn't even fired.
You
No, you don't know the details. Can I reply to this? Food Shops, can I reply to this?
No, let me finish what I'm saying.
I'm actually asking the moderator, not you. Food Shops, can I reply to this? You have a mute button, yes? Presumably you can mute just the people talking and then put us in order.
Yes, but I let my voice do the muting. Okay, so wait, is there?
But I'd like to reply respectfully. I'd like to reply to that point in particular first. Then I'll let you move on.
Okay,
Stardust.
first,
It's very
go
quickly
first.
done.
Go first, real quick. Okay.
Me?
Yes.
All right. The academic agent wasn't fired. He was laid off. And one of the things that went into factoring into whether or not he was laid off was that he was threatening students with lawsuits because they caught him on Twitter talking about giving socialists helicopter rights a la Pinochet, which when you have a bunch of socialists in the school is essentially advocating for physical harm for your students. He was never fired. When I saw on Twitter that he was battling with those students and he was rendering legal threats at them, I went on and I confirmed, yeah, this guy was doing that. That's it. I didn't dox him.
Why did you?
The only reason why I knew who he was, the only reason why
did you tag his university?
because he was threatening students and I was providing
This
confirmation.
Nima person?
Nima Parvini, yes. No, the only reason why I know that name, why do I know that name? Well, I know that name because he
Why?
revealed his name. He
Why
revealed
did
it
you
publicly.
Tag the university. And,
Because he was-
mention this
because he
academic
was-
agent person.
because
If
he
they
was
were-
threatening
if they
students,
Were already threatening
Stardust.
students. If they were already threatening students, then you could have
No,
just
he
linked to
was.
that instead of talking.
I
Excuse
did.
Me, what I'm
I
saying
did.
is, if you already saw people, this guy's threatening students, you wouldn't need to say this person runs multiple alt-right Discord servers and personally promotes racial segregation.
He does.
You would just link where he's threatening students.
Am I not allowed to say this?
Are you
Have I broken a law?
Say it,
Something,
but
why
you
would you want
clearly
that?
have a fucking agenda behind it. You want to get this
Yeah.
person fucking fired.
Sunday.
Of course I do. Of course
Yeah.
I do. Absolutely.
That's
Sunday.
number one. That's number one of
Why else would
President
he
Sunday
do
trying to
something
ruin
to
somebody's
an
life.
agenda?
Number two of somebody trying to President Sunday trying to ruin somebody's life. Questioning NSC's credentials and accusing her
She
of
lied about her credentials.
fraud.
She lied about her
money.
credentials.
Wait a minute. Let me
She
finish.
lied about her
Let me
credentials.
finish. Let me
I'm sorry.
finish what I'm saying. You
I don't have to.
accused her.
She
of-
lied about her
you
credentials.
accused-
She lied about her
He's
credentials.
short circuiting again. He's not going to let you
On
finish.
President Sunday, he won't let me finish my point here. Can we?
It's his
Can we get a
tactic.
mute on President Sunday, please? Because I need to finish my point, and he won't let me finish my
Okay,
point.
but
And
after you finish, we have to let Sunday ramble. Okay, we have to let Sunday ramble. Okay?
I need to
So-
finish
Do
my
we?
point because
Do we?
you've let him interrupt me. You've let him interrupt me once already. You have.
I have.
Yes, you have. I was not done with
Whatever.
my point.
Just
okay.
go. I don't
Number
care.
that was number one of that. That was number one. This you tried to get this academic agent fired. That is one first example of.
I thought I got him fired.
His life.
Did I try to get him
Can we get a
fired?
mute on him? Can we please get a mute on him?
All right, Sunday. I'll just mute you temporarily. Okay. All right, whatever.
Okay.
You should have done that a long time ago.
Silence, so fucked up.
Look, people appealing to the mod is bad. Look, he was appealing to the mod himself. Okay, I can appeal to the mod too if he's doing it.
Yeah, what's
we'll
your-
play that
wait,
game.
what's your
We'll
answer to
play
the
that
question,
fucking
though?
game. Okay, number one, that is the first example of him trying to fucking ruin somebody's life. Number two
I thought he was trying to.
is him
I thought he was firing. He got
accusing.
fired.
Excuse me.
Wait,
Let me
Sid,
finish.
I'm gonna kick you.
Number two is him trying to accuse Not So Erudite of using federal funds incorrectly or possibly even like fucking embezzling them, which is fucking wild. That is an accusation of fraud. You are going to ruin somebody's life or get fucking sued, and I hope you do. I hope they sue you up the ass. Number 3 of you trying to ruin somebody's life is leaking somebody's personal messages where they happen to do, happen to say some mean shit in it. And trying to ruin their fucking career when they are actually doing real activism. Unlike you and your pathetic ass with your stupid fucking octopus plush on your face, you looking like Jabba the fucking Hutt. Okay.
Can Sunday respond now? Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna let Sunday respond now. Sunday, go. Stardust is now muted. Go.
Look, you say what you want to me, but you leave Squiddleton out of this, bitch. I'm sorry. There is a limit. There's a line. I'm drawing it here. I wasn't really listening to that, except for the last bit. So, Brianna Wu, who is in a quasi-employee relationship with Chen Huber of TYT, while she was going publicly about how much of a, how much she cares about the trans community, how much she knows how much non-binary people suffer when they're forced into boxes, et cetera, castigating other people for not being up on trans issues and not being able to talk about or to trans people in non-dehumanizing ways. Went after a admittedly not a very politically savvy, to put it mildly, former employee of the Young Turks, and called her transvestite presenting, mocking her dress. So, with all due respect, Stardust, and your faux moral outrage, you can stuff it wherever you like.
Hey, Sunday, why can't you actually listen to criticism? Why can't you actually sincerely listen?
No, Gnostic, I will kick you. Can you please stop? Stop. Thank you. I will mute you. All right. Stardust, you may now respond. Thank you.
I have a question for President Sunday. President Sunday, have you ever called somebody you don't like stupid or dumb or imply that they're deaf?
Okay, now I will unmute Sunday and I'll mute Synth.
But did I answer or was I muted?
Now you're unmuted. Go.
Was I muted when I was just talking?
Yeah. Can you go?
Okay.
Again.
Well, you ruined the whole flow of that.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
It's no point now.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just unmute both of you. Sorry.
Yeah, unmute both of us. Okay, President Sunday. My question for you is that have you ever called somebody stupid, called somebody dumb, implied that they may be blind or deaf? Have you?
Never. Me?
Oh yeah, you have.
Slander.
Definitely. You have.
No.
You have. That's like
you have no proof. There's no evidence. You can't prove anything.
Can we be serious for a moment here? You have a long history of accusing people of this shit, and yes, can we? And if that is the case, President Sunday, that you have a long history of using mentally disabled as a fucking insult for people, why the fuck do you care? Why don't you care about mentally disabled people, President Sunday? Do you even care about them? Do you even care about like them getting treatment, getting healthcare, access to healthcare? What the fuck is wrong with you, you stupid little man?
I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to laugh.
I don't blame you.
So I want to point out, Brianna Wu has apologized for what she said.
Yeah, unlike President Sunday here, who loves to use mentally disabled people as his crutch, as his way of insulting other people. Don't you?
When in particular?
You do. Yeah, plenty of times when he's referred to me, he's insulted me and claimed that I like am a dimwit or something, which is, whether you like it or not.
Bless you for proving me wrong.
Mentally disabled, right? He's done it to multiple other people. This is a long history with President Sunday.
It sure is.
It is.
It is. Well, I wasn't expecting the knockdown, you call people stupid retort, but you got me there, Stardust.
Yeah, well,
if
you want to go after people, if you want to say, oh, people can't, you can't claim that you care about this thing because you said this mean thing using this word for this people. Well, guess what? You can't claim to care about.
You don't
care about mentally disabled.
There's a very There's a very particular reason why Brianna Wu in this particular case saying that particular thing matters. So you'll notice, for instance, I didn't go after Jenny Matrix or Zanya or any of the other people in that chat. I didn't mention them at all, really. Why do you suppose that was? Do you have any particular idea as to why I would not care about those people? Jenny Matrix, by the way,
clouded, and you can get more clout off of shitting on her because you know all the Gamergate bros love to shit on her. Ooh, I know you were a fan of Sargon. I know you're a fan of Sargon. I know you.
Yeah,
were
in like 2016, I'm like an anarchist now.
Bro, you were pro Gamergate. You were pro Gamergate, and you know that you can
Stardust,
get
Stardust,
shitting on Brianna Wu.
Stardust,
you know
you're having Stardust. Stardust, you were having casual conversations with Richard Spencer last year. You were getting heat for it.
Yes, I was, and guess what?
Yeah.
I wasn't getting clouded off of him.
Well, you're trying. You weren't getting clout off of him because you have no appeal.
You know anything about me?
It's fair to debate
Stardust. There's a
The rest of you guys need to be quiet.
Why don't you just mute everyone but me and Stardust for now?
Let me finish what I'm saying here, okay? You
weren't finished?
No, you said something, and I want to respond to it.
Well, I wasn't actually quite finished. Like I was asking rhetorically. The reason why you didn't get.
Trying to get clout off of Richard
The reason why.
the most phenomenally fucking stupid thing I could try to do. I am a brown Indian woman.
I agree.
I'm not getting clout off of him. The reason why
Yes, you will.
him
Yes,
is
you
because
would.
I'm massively interested. I am incredibly fascinated with the far right and the dissident right. I just like to know what's going on with
Now,
them.
the reason
And
why you
it's
didn't
not
get
about
the
clout.
reason why you didn't get clout off of him is because you have no talent as a host and you're just a deeply unappealing commentator with nothing
Okay,
interesting
is that
to say.
what it is? You're,
Now the reason why
you're a fucking robot.
now the reason why
You're a fucking Spock from fucking Star Trek, bro.
now the reason why I was interested in Brianna. Now the reason. Would you let me finish my sentence, please? Could I say just a few words?
Do you guys want to do the mute one at a time thing again, or?
I kind of just want to say something very quickly, just as an explanation, because this will take all night otherwise. The reason why I was interested in Brianna Wu there is precisely because, well, she is publicly saying that she stands for all of these people and for their identities and for their advocacy and for their being treated as human beings and not being treated in a dehumanizing manner. In secret, she's not only dehumanizing them in a pretty egregious way, much less former people who are sort of working in her orbit. She's also pretty much directly organizing with people who are opposed to their identities. She's saying things to the effect of, I don't like that. I think we need to move to a more exclusive notion of transsexualism. I don't like that these non-binary people with their weird pronouns have taken over the movement, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just a matter, it's the equivalent, and I posed this question to Whick earlier. It's sort of like, would you be clutching your pearls if a gay rights activist who was trying to get into government or to influence policy was suddenly found in the background in like private conversations or whatever, talking to his friends about how, I don't like how all of these queers have taken over the Democratic Party.
That's not what
between
she was
you and
saying,
me. Oh, that's basically what she said. She said
she was talking about
the screenshots speak for themselves.
Let Stardust answer.
The screenshots speak for themselves.
She was talking about somebody who had been harassing her. Yes. Was she mean in those screenshots? Yes. Did she use
wasn't
a
just
slur
mean.
in those screenshots?
No.
Excuse me. Let me finish. Did she use a slur in those screenshots? Yes. Guess who else uses slurs? The gay community. They call each other F slurs all the time when they're talking about each other and bitching about each other. I'm sorry. So does the black community. So does any community that's a minority. I'm sorry. No.
The trans community, Stardust, just to be clear.
Excuse me, I'm not finished. I am not finished.
Take a chill pill,
I am not
Stardust.
finished. You cannot,
let's have
you have to
finish
let
her.
me. You have to let me finish. You are wrong on the slur shit. Any community that is a minority community has a history of using slurs against them, appropriating them, and using them to shit on each other when they want to bitch about each other. I have seen it. I have seen it with the gay community. I've seen it with other communities of color. Okay. Secondly, what you're saying is not even analogous to what was going on in Brianna Wu's thing. If you wanted to make a better analogy, it would be a gay guy in a chat with a bunch of other gay guys getting mad at a gay guy who doesn't like him and calling him an F slur. That's what the equivalent would be. That doesn't make him all of a sudden unfit to be doing political advocacy just because he doesn't get along with one person.
What is a transvestite, Stardust? It's a little bit different in content than the
I said it's a slur. I said
it's not just a slur. It's not just a slur. What is a transvestite?
Yes, what is the N-word, President Sunday?
No, I'm asking you. Like, what is the hang on.
It's more than just a slur.
Well, actually, I was kind of asking a question. I was hoping you would engage with it. When somebody says the word transvestite, what is the image that comes to mind? What is being referred to by that word?
I think of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
So you think of a man in a dress, yes? You think of a man in drag. You think of somebody who is not, for example, a woman, who is dressed as a woman.
Yes. What do you think?
So if somebody...
What do you think the N-word is? The N-word is
the N-word is a mutilation of another word to make it seem gross and whatnot, that is then used to slur a category of people.
All slurs are for dehumanization.
I really would like for you to attempt to operate at like an adult level for a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind. I would appreciate it.
I don't know if you're capable of operating on the same wavelength as the rest of the panel here. Your IQ might be too low.
Probably. Yeah. So when you're calling someone transvestite presenting, what you're actually saying is, oh, see that trans woman there that I used to work with that was complaining of a history of tacit or quiet transphobia while working at the Young Turks. Yeah, she looks like a man in a dress. She needs to wear normal clothes because she's slim anyway. She can just dress normally, right? She doesn't need to dress in these women clothes. They don't work for her. That was what she was saying. That's egregious for somebody who's operating the space that she is, especially one who's touting coalition building. She's encouraging people in the background who are bigoted towards other trans people to be more and more encouraged in those views. She's actually sowing very strong dissent within the trans community, within the community she's supposedly trying to build coalitions with, and she's encouraging the absolute worst elements.
So one of my moderators said Benny uses the word transvestite on their OnlyFans. Is that true? Is it?
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I don't know that it would matter as to whether or not people find it right or wrong for Brianna Wu to use it. Like if Benny's wrong, Benny's wrong too. But that wouldn't change anything for the rest of them.
Yeah. Brianna
well, it'd be sort of like just on the N-word thing. Hang on, sorry.
It was mean.
On the N-word thing, as an example, it would be sort of like if somebody called somebody else that, maybe somebody like Barack Obama did, and that other person had happened to use it in like a different key in like a piece of music they wrote, maybe in self-description even. Right?
No, okay, so no, that's not what I'm talking about. President Sunday, what I'm talking about, first off, you got that
Yeah, that is actually. That's kind of exactly
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Let me finish, okay? First off, you got the thing with Benny wrong. You got the thing with Benny wrong.
What did I get wrong with Benny?
Because Brianna Wu was not talking about Benny as a whole. They were commenting on a specific picture of Benny.
Yeah, a picture that this person took, a picture that this person took to show like, hey, look how good I'm looking today. Brianna Wu goes into her group chat with 21 other people, a lot of people with audiences, by the way. What do you mean?
I mean, I would say the picture was fairly representative of Benny's general representation.
Who are you to say that, Stardust?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't fundamental to her. It was a critique of the way that she looked.
Sorry,
and I'm not saying that that's right.
It wasn't just a critique of the way that she looked. It wasn't just a critique of the way that she looked, Stardust. She didn't just say, ooh, that dress isn't working for you. She said, that trans woman, she looks like a man in that outfit. She needs to wear something else.
Yes, but it was still a critique of that outfit. It was still a critique of that outfit. I'm not saying that it's right, but I am saying that it is not about her fundamental character. It is about the way that she appeared in that photo.
Yeah, now, I don't think anybody was saying she was commenting on the state of her soul.
What I'm saying. The second part of what I'm saying here is that, okay, first I said, right, that this is not a critique of her as a person fundamentally. It is a critique of the way that she was dressed. And it wasn't right, and Brianna Wu acknowledges that it wasn't right. Secondly,
so fuck off. What are you going on about? She already apologized. She acknowledged wrongdoing already. It's over.
Wait a minute. No. Secondly, yes, we all do mean things, behind closed doors. We all say mean things. But when if you want to talk about like using slurs, I have friends who, I have
Stardust.
a friend who, wait, let me finish. I have a friend
Wait, let me
who
finish.
will call her brother,
Wait.
the N-word with a hard
Let me
R.
finish speaking, please. Wait.
Let's have Stardust actually
I
finish.
think I think her point is that it's not like necessarily transphobic. It's just her commenting on her
no,
look.
it's transphobic, but it is
transphobic.
about that look.
So we agree.
I would say it's not transphobic. I would say it's definitely not transphobic.
Hey, maybe we can all look at the photo and make up our own minds. What do you think?
Well, we could also look at the remainder of the messages, because that's a page that we're arguing about right now.
Okay, I just freed up
I'm just
everybody.
saying this is the third one. This is the third time
So
that
to be
President
clear-
Sunday has tried to blow
So to be
up
clear,
his career.
so to be clear,
This is the third time.
So to be clear, in your judgment, Stardust, that person who wanted that conversation to be known because they wanted people to know what kinds of things Brianna Wu actually believed, contrary to her public-facing statements. That person
That
did
person
a grave.
has leaked a lot of stuff.
That
That person is a drama chaser.
Really? Who are they?
Yeah.
Drama
I'm not
chaser.
going to name them. But they
Drama
leaked
chaser.
many things.
But they're
before.
not. They're
Yeah.
not. They're not getting any drama from this.
Oh, they
I'm the
are.
one. I'm the one who
They're seeing all
posted
the
them.
drama unfold. They're seeing all the drama unfold. They wanted that.
No, I really don't think so.
Yes,
That's
I
not
do
the
think so.
impression
And
I
I
got.
think that you
No.
are a useful idiot. You're a
No,
useful idiot.
I think
I
what
cannot
happened.
believe how
I think
low
what happened.
IQ you are. I
think what happened.
expected better of you. You have the fucking. You present yourself as like a fucking professor aesthetic. I have no fucking idea. Do you have a fucking PhD? You have a bunch of books behind you. Have you read any of them?
A few of
Clearly
them.
not.
I got a duck.
Holy
It's a
shit.
banana.
So, President Sunday, what do you think it is that should happen? I think that's like an important question to ask here.
I think all centrists should be swiftly and summarily. No.
Jesus.
No. What's supposed to happen? Nothing. What
He
should
doesn't
happen?
want people to look at Brianna as an ally. He wants them to know what her real feelings are about
Well,
these things.
I want
them to
people-
understand where she really stands.
And isn't that fair?
Maybe
at the end
not.
of the day?
Maybe not so much. Maybe not so much to in that sense. Like if people still want to ally with her, so be it. But I think people should be aware of
they're
what her
allying
actual
with.
I'm saying
positions are.
you would say. I'm saying.
Well, here's why it matters. Can I just very quickly? Here's why it
Different
matters.
women, you tried to ruin their careers because they were smarter than you.
Destiny is a girl's name, true. So when it comes to Brianna in particular, Brianna is someone who's trying to mold policy, who's making strategic suggestions to people and saying you should do this, not do this. You should not advocate for this. Sometimes
And her
entire categories of
advice
people.
is good.
I wasn't finished.
Are you sure you're not in
Sometimes, like don't advocate for these whole identity groups.
Okay, energy drink.
Things like that. Sure. So when she's doing so, for that advice to be taken on good faith, you need to know what the goal is. What are her actual motives? And if it turns out behind the scenes that she has contempt for the groups that she's dropping, we can't trust that she's actually making this advice in their interest. It seems like she just doesn't care.
And again,
So do-
what I will,
that's why you need that consonance between what she says in private in these conversations with other people when she thinks you're not looking and what she says
But
in
you don't
public.
get to
Because
say
if
who
she's
gets to appropriate the word or not.
President Sunday,
Well-
you have no idea. Like,
Just
look,
ignore Nine
you
Tails.
in public will insult people
Yeah.
for their intelligence, and then
Yeah.
you're claiming the moral high ground here.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Seriously?
dumb.
Like, why? Why
'cause you're-
would you?
'cause you're dumb.
Bro. You have tried to ruin
You're
multiple
silly.
people's. You've tried to ruin multiple people's
President
careers.
Sunday, I have a serious question for you.
President Sunday. Let me just reiterate one last thing, and then I will let everybody else have the floor because I
Okay.
just don't want to be involved in this anymore. Okay, President Sunday. Let me just tell you guys. Okay, President Sunday is only part of this because he used to be he used to be pro Gamergate back in
Oh,
the day,
was
and
he?
he knows that
I
it
wasn't
is
pro
still
Gamergate.
in.
I
It's
wasn't in
still
Gamergate.
It's still in to shit on Brianna Wu, and he knows that he can get
I
clouded
didn't shit on Brianna
by
Wu back
shitting
then.
on Brianna Wu. He knows that he can do it. He knows
No.
that he can still get
What?
clout off of it today.
What are you talking about?
That is the
Where?
reason why.
How do you even know that? I wasn't even on YouTube back then.
It's the reason why.
I
he
wasn't-
went after
I think I was, like-
everybody
I
else
might
that
have been
he's
in
gone
high school
after and
still.
tried to blow up their fucking career.
It's a weak
nothing-
accusation.
There is
That's
nothing.
Okay, but you know what? But you know what I didn't do? Hey, no, that's good. That's great. It's great. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't go canvassing for a segregationist like Wu did.
Okay, so the
Okay,
issue
can I
that
ask Sunday a question, please?
But also, by the way, very quickly, and I'll let you ask, please.
You're fucking retarded, President Sunday. President retarded.
Okay, you're not
You're
contributing
Friday.
anymore. You're not
You're
contributing
Friday.
anything.
You're a Friday.
I like Fridays.
Fridays are great.
Wait,
Yeah, they're the best.
Stardust. Do you, wait, it's not
Fridays are fun.
about you or anything, right? But do you have any receipts for like him like?
Oh, I mean, I like back in college, I absolutely did watch Sargon, but I wasn't watching Sargon for Gamergate. That shit was boring. I watched.
But you're a fan, and you know that it is in to shit on her. Because all of the ex
No, I didn't really pay attention.
all of the GGers came
I
out of the
agree with you,
woodworks
Stardust.
to
But you're
shit
not.
on
I
her.
wasn't.
Is he
Wait,
still in contact?
Stardust, what are you talking about? I've
No.
been pretty fair-minded here, have I not?
I'm not
Who?
talking about you, Tack. I'm talking about all the
You're
Twitter
chilling.
retards.
Wait, attack him. What the fuck? Stop. You're not okay. You're
So very quickly.
You are not
From-
representative of all.
From
of us.
about till 2016, I came from a conservative background and I watched a lot of Sargon because there's a lot of friction between, liberal lefty stuff in university campuses and people from that culture. And over time, I educated myself out of that. So
Yes,
in 2016,
and you know
I was.
where the clout is. You knew the clout was in
What?
shitting on NSE, and you know the clout is shitting on Brianna Wu because all the GGers will come out of the woodwork. You care
That's
about
not clout. What are you
nothing.
talking about?
You don't care
I was
about
streaming.
any
I was streaming a.
You-
I was streaming a
President
Hegel
Sunday-
read through before
President
this.
Sunday does not
Like-
believe in any morals. He does not have any values. The only thing he values is clout.
What about
That's all I'm gonna
Chanterelles?
say.
Stardust. It's not like I don't believe it, right? But like, if you would lower your decibels by like a few 20 or 30, like I
can't
I
when he's
promise-
always interrupting me. He
promise I would.
was always butting in.
You said you weren't going. You said you're going to leave it to other people. May I ask a question,
Yeah, sure, Nine-Go.
Mr. Sunday? If anybody
Yes.
were to reappropriate hateful language, which group do you think is most, suited, entitled to do that? Would it be the group that language targets, and thus it would be empowering for them, or the group who uses that slur and has traditionally done so to weaponize it?
I don't think it's a reappropriation if it's a weaponizing of an ongoing term that has outdated connotations, because the purpose of it is to invalidate the person by way of their appearance, to say this person looks like a man, especially when you are acting in a professional or a public capacity and you're representing yourself as someone conscientious of that. And this is another crucial point, when you are castigating other people for doing things of an identical kind. So Brandon Wu has gone out of her
She
way.
castigates people for public things.
She does. Well, not just for public things. She castigates people for speaking to trans people in a dehumanizing way, period. That there's no excuse for people in politics to do so. This is yet precisely what she's doing. Why?
Well,
Because fundamentally she's a chameleon.
why
She is
Star-
whoever she's talking to at the moment.
This is why Startup brought up the N-word, because the N-word was dehumanizing.
Yeah.
But black people found a way to say it in a non-dehumanizing way.
Yeah, that wasn't used in a dehumanized.
Wait,
that
no,
was
black people still use the N-word with the hard R to degrade each other. The fuck are you
Thank you,
guys
Stardust.
talking about? You clearly don't hang out with black people.
Thank you,
I'm
Sarah.
not saying they don't. I'm saying they reappropriated the language.
They
And if anybody
reappropriate it,
is
but
suited,
people will still
Alright.
use that.
I gotta go soon. Does anybody else want to ask me something before I go?
I want to ask Mr. Sunday a question.
Jenny Matrix then.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunday, fuck you, you slimy piece
Wait,
of
is
shit.
that
son of a bitch.
is that all you have to say? It
I
has to be
was
part
gonna
of the
ask
You
him
want
a
content?
question.
Is that all
You
I have
want
to say? I
content?
said like fucking 4 words.
Is that all
Okay.
you got?
Okay,
How about
yeah,
somebody who
Sunday.
was already here? Because we
Yeah,
already know
I've
Jenny
got
Matrix.
it.
Jenny Matrix.
Now that the person whose DMs you leaked has shown up, suddenly you don't want to talk.
Hey,
about
Jenny
it.
Matrix. Do non-binary people exist?
Do non-binary people exist? Not in the sense that you would think they do.
What does it
You
say on your
what?
Twitter?
You what?
Huh?
What does it say on your Twitter?
It says that non-binary. Okay, so in a tweet where I was cramming.
How about you just read it?
my-
How about you just read
Yeah,
it?
sure. Yeah, I'll read the whole
Okay.
tweet for you. It's pretty base.
You what?
Non-binary is not a real thing. Transgender is a meaningless category. Self-ID is a terrible idea. If you're not transsexual, you're not trans. Most trans activism is a complete joke, as you're proving right now. And the trans movement has been hijacked and subverted by gender abolitionists like yourself, you slimy scumbag. The way that people
Thank you
think
very much.
non-binary people exist today is not how third gender or fourth gender people
Sweet.
existed throughout history. It's
Food
a
shops. I'm so
modern
sorry.
conception made
I'm
up
so
of gender
sorry.
abolitionists
But
about-
I do have to go, and there were
Okay.
people here who were waiting. I would like to answer a question from somebody who was already here.
Okay, my question is this.
Okay.
My question is this. Where were you inaugurated, and who can I call to verify that information?
We are. I was
Nice.
not inaugurated in a country where the rule of law is in place. I rule by will. Ultimately, the presidential title is just a vestige of the previous regime.
Sunday,
What?
do you understand?
What's
Do you
suspicious?
understand
Is it
that
craterography?
when somebody has been
Sorry,
harassing
can you start that?
somebody
Can you start
else,
that conversation? Can you start the sentence again?
Somebody
I
needs to
missed it.
check his creds.
I missed the opening of that sentence, Stardust.
okay,
How
so do you
peculiar.
understand? You understand that when somebody has been harassing a person for a long time, sometimes a
Who have I
bad
been
thing is
harassing?
going to happen. Wait a minute.
Who have I been
Sometimes a
harassing?
bad thing. Excuse me. Let me finish what I'm. Sometimes a bad thing is going to happen, and this person is maybe going to say something really bad about them in a private message that they don't expect is going to get out. It's not indicative of the entire community of trans people, but it is out of frustration.
If I was
because that one
in a
person and them were
public
not
beef,
getting along.
if I was in a public beef with a black person, I wouldn't resort to using an anti-black slur. Not in
Yeah,
public
but you're
either.
not black. You
If I
can't
was
use it.
well, I wouldn't use an F
You're
slur
not
to
black.
refer to
You
a
can't
gay
use
person
it.
either in that key. Like there's certain keys you don't do these kinds of things in. And if
Yes,
for
you
example,
do. People in minority communities do it all the time. Black people call each other the N-word with a hard R all the time.
if for example, the function of it is not to say in an offhand way, hey, like she is another slur later on that is using that key. That is appropriative. So when she refers to other people in the group as these are the good T slurs or whatever, like that's different. But when you're
Do you
specifically,
even know that?
I really-
though? Do you know? Do you
It's a
know that those
reasonable
words are
inference.
not? Do you not know? Do you really know that those words are not used? by
I'm assuming
that
she's
community?
friends with the. I'm sorry.
Do you really know that those words are not used by that community?
I didn't say they weren't used by that community.
So
You
then,
weren't following what I
is your
said, were
fucking
you?
point?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? I was presuming I was speaking to somebody with a basic grasp of English. Maybe I was
Oh,
mistaken.
I thought I was speaking to somebody who actually knew how to put a sentence together.
Tom,
do you have a question? Sentences together.
Yeah, so Sunday, it seemed like going through most of the logs that most of what Brianna Wu was talking about in them was neo-pronouns. It seemed like she had a bigger issue with neo-pronouns than with specifically non-binary people. I guess my camera just unplugged, but yeah.
Well, what are neopronouns for? What do they do?
So I think that this is indicative of her having an issue with gender abolition, not necessarily non-binary people.
Well, what do you
right?
suppose non-binary means?
Well, non-binary means that you don't fit into the binary, but I don't.
Not
think
exactly.
That,
See, here's the trick. If
so it
gender
depends
and
on
sex,
who you're asking, but yeah.
Yeah, certainly. But if gender and sex are separate, then sex should not necessarily, therefore, limit the range of gender expressions that are possible. And so maybe you can be a gender abolitionist, for example, but still fit that mold, or even say everybody who lives only fits either a male or a female gender expression. Or it could be the case that we lack the vocabulary to describe people who have gender expressions that are outside of that categorization scheme. They can exist or they cannot. That's going to be a historical incident, right? There may be at some point in time born only people of like some subset of expressions, and some will just not appear for whatever reason, so on and so forth. When you're talking about...
What? Stop.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry, my mic's messing up. Something dropped onto my stuff, and my camera unplugged and everything.
It's
So-
really it's hard to listen to a wet towel go on for as long as it has. It really is.
I feel so sorry for you. So when you're talking about, for example, when you're talking about ridiculing people with neopronouns or calling them insane, or wanting to take away the helm from them, because that's an express statement of going against that group's interests. What you're doing effectively is you're saying, yeah, people who have gender expressions outside of a binaristic thing, we don't have any respect for that, because ultimately it's what neopronouns are. They're ways to particularize gender expressions outside of the binary.
Is it though?
They, them is the way to be ambiguous.
I don't think that these people actually. Yeah, I don't believe that these people actually believe that you can exist outside of the gender binary. I think most
Of
people
course they
believe
do.
that you
No,
are
they do.
going
They
to.
believe that. They believe that very strongly.
Maybe
not trying to get
non-binary
rid of
people.
gender.
do.
No,
When I'm
it's
talking
really
about
very
people
simple.
Like
Having-
Blue, like me, most of us believe that they're going
May
to
I
be
go,
more
please, for a
androgynous
chat?
than anything else, but they still exist
let
within
Tom
the
go
gender
first.
binary.
Okay, but they don't. So when we're talking about the gender binary, what we're effectively saying, and the reason why we have a distinction between sex and gender, is that the range of ways in which you can express in a gender fashion in that way is limited by whether or not you have a penis or a vagina. And essentially, when we call people a man or a woman, that actually continues into that, where we're referring to people as penis bearers of the spirit, so to speak. But some people don't fall into that categorization. And that doesn't mean, therefore, that they're simply androgynous. Sometimes they have like very, very particular forms of expression. And that doesn't mean that the range is simply endless. Like it's distinctly possible that there's some that are more reasonable than others, or that start to lose meaning at a certain degree of, they become sort of abstract or whatever, or some of that, to the point where maybe the language of gender is no longer appropriate, and maybe that's simply the case. But no, absolutely, there are people who really believe this. There's a lot of people with these identities, a good number. The reason why the reception to this has been so negative is precisely because there are so many people who understand this is actually not an unserious thing.
I don't think the reception has been all that negative, actually. I think
Pretty
that
negative.
most people,
So
when we're talking
overwhelmingly
about
negative. Are you kidding?
gender, we're talking about like masculinity and femininity. And I think that most people, I think that pretty quickly, as soon as you start to take other identities that have literally nothing to do with masculinity and femininity and call them gender, you are immediately getting outside of what is reasonable.
Well, no, because masculinity and femininity are themselves gendered categories, right?
Sunday,
like
do
when
you
we're
think
talking
it's
about gender,
valid?
we're talking.
Do you think it's valid if somebody says their gender is a Pokemon?
If their gender is a Pokemon, well, Pokemon is a brand, so that's a little bit odd. But like, for example,
They're outside the gender binary.
Sorry?
They're outside the gender binary.
Well, the identity wouldn't be
Do we
literally
normally-
saying that they are the fictional. Let's assume that somebody did that. If they were being serious and they were using that to represent their gender identity, that would be a label for a particularization of their gender expression. That would not be trying to say I am literally the fictional character from this IP, right?
Do you understand the point, though, that like if we're making pronouns
No,
for
if I'm
every
honest.
single, excuse me, let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
If we are making and using pronouns for every single gender identity that is outside the binary, whether that's deer, whether that's Pokemon, whether that's fucking a star gender or cloud gender,
you will
right?
be relieved to
And
know
wait, let
that
me
nobody.
finish. Let me
You will be
finish.
relieved
Let me
to know.
finish.
Let us
Let me
even cutting
finish.
people off
Let me
like crazy.
Let me
Let us-
finish.
Wait.
Like,
After this,
I didn't even
we'll
finish
ask her
what
a
I was
question.
saying.
Yeah, but after you. I'm saying after you. Okay, go.
Okay. If you can you understand that if we have to go and use neopronouns for every single person who says that they want to go by neopronouns, who identifies as something like star gender or cloud gender or Pokemon gender outside the gender binary, that we are going to have endless amounts of things to remember, and it's just not.
You have to remember people's names. What's the problem?
Yes, but remembering somebody's name and remembering like the pronouns of every single non-binary person outside of the gender binary who goes by Pokemon.
She just doesn't want to.
How many are people actually? Hang on. How many are people actually using? As far as I'm aware, we have exactly really Stardust. How many people can you even? Stardust.
The people. The reason why I'm bringing this up.
How many
is
people can you name?
Specifically in that chat, they were talking about deer gender. They were not talking about just
Doe's
any
not deer
non-binary.
gender. Doe's not deer
They were talking about
gender.
deer gender. They were
Doe is
talking
not
about
deer
Doe.
gender. Doe's not deer gender. Doe goes by
Okay,
it its
what-
pronouns because Doe is non-binary and operates outside of that spectrum. The deer gender thing is a joke. Doe's not deer gendered. Doe was making a self-effacing joke because Doe uses a deer aesthetic in their art and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that back
That
to
is not,
kind
not
of
the
what I
point.
was saying.
They were still.
But that kind of is though. So
No, they were referring to that. If they believe that Doe is deer gender,
trying
then
to, like,
Doe
go
is
down
deer
a line
gender in
of-
their head.
questioning and it keeps going off. Like I think the point is that people who actually have gender dysphoria are trying to fight to be seen as the genders that fit within the binary currently, and then there's people who are saying, well, actually, let's just kind of ignore the binary and come up with new genders that
So we're
have
not
absolutely
saying to
nothing
ignore
to
the
do
No,
with
that's not.
gender.
They're not saying that at all. They're not saying. No, hang on, because people. Very quickly, I do want to reply to
because
this.
as soon as you believe
This is
non-binary isn't even a possible
no. This is an important point that Tom's bringing up.
About needing people.
Yeah, just as very quickly.
Roles.
So, sorry, I'm going to cut you off at the Ninetales. I couldn't tell who you were talking. So, Tom, very quickly, so you bring up an important point. Nobody's advocating for disregarding people, for example, who have dysphoric feelings and identify with a sex other than their birth.
I understand that, but that's still part of the process, though. Like, that's part of the process of their acceptance is actually people understanding the difference between sex and gender and understanding that they do fit what it is that we understand gender to mean. But then there's other people who are saying, well, actually, no, let's like kind of wipe gender. We want to fit outside of
No, gender abolition. No, hang on. Gender abolition.
New identity.
Just
call
Tom,
gender, but have absolutely
no,
nothing
but
to do with
Tom, gender abolition is not abolishing people who are gendered. People are raised in a system that genders
I understand
them. People, so people develop to have these identities, and so on and so forth. Gender abolition is not saying that those people are invalid and that therefore that whole thing should just be ignored. Gender abolitionists are basically saying that these gender ranges should not be prescriptive for.
But those identities fit on a
which
spectrum
identities
of
are able to be
femininity.
recognized. What?
But those identities fit
Yeah,
on
nobody's
a spectrum
denying that.
of masculinity to femininity.
Well, not all. They don't all the time.
Identities have literally nothing to do with masculinity and femininity. They are denying.
Dorks. Okay.
But why would you limit it to femininity and masculinity, which is really just to say
We're not
vaginaness and
limiting
penisness?
to that.
Hang on.
It's just really
I
easy. If I say I'm
wasn't
a
finished.
football fan,
I
it's
wasn't
limited to,
finished. You don't know my question. You don't know what I was going to say. You jumped in because you're all excited because this is Stardust's shortcut to having more than 20 viewers again. When you're saying that like people are tied from the spectrum of femininity and masculinity, what you're effectively saying is that the sexual characteristics with which people are born limits the range of types of people that they can be. But for example, there are asexual people who are trans, and so on and so forth. There's not this specific relationship between one's sexual equipment and one's gender expression. The gender abolitionist movement is effectively saying, regardless of your body type, that should not be a restriction, which by the way includes for people who have a body type that is torturous to them. That should not be restrictive of what kinds of gender expressions should be permissible. So it's not an abolition or an elimination of gendered people or existing genders. It's an abolition of the hegemony of gender as a sorting mechanism that is delimited by biological sex. Does that make sense?
I think that's perfectly acceptable within the binary, though. I don't like you're saying that as though it's
well, it can coexist with the binary.
But these people are bringing new identities that have absolutely nothing to do with the binary.
Well, they aren't new identities. They have them. They're present, right? They have those identities.
They have the identities, but they are not gender, and they are calling them gendered identities.
Well, hang on. What is gender, Tom?
Masculinity and femininity.
Rabbit hole.
Well, no, those are genders. But what is gender?
Hold on,
as a category.
Zonia wants to get her.
Gender is the social product of biology.
You also said I could go like a while back.
Yeah, I'm tells not to go.
I wanted to go for.
I would actually like to talk to Zonia. This is unfortunate, but I do have to go. I was actually.
Oh, he was running, guys. He's running. It's President.
No, I just finished stream.
Yeah, President Run.
I've got like.
We do need to talk.
What is it? 9:21. I can do 5 minutes if you can go quick.
So Sunday, why do you not think people deserve privacy?
Sunday.
I think Ninetales is waiting.
Okay, I want to get something real quick.
But I think Ninetales is waiting.
Yeah, I know, but you got 5 minutes. Okay, let's do Ninetales.
You can do 1 minute there quickly.
Who's talking?
My question isn't for Sunday, so Zonia go first, actually.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do you recognize that there is a difference between what someone feels is optimal to and effective to currently advocate for versus like, say like working against non-binary identities?
If you're saying to people that you don't regard specific subsections at the very least of non-binary people as valid, or if you're calling them insane and agreeing with that, or if you're, for example, ridiculing somebody for their non-binary identity, someone in particular, unprovokedly, and if in addition to this, you are complaining to that group of people that you're addressing that these people are corrupting the purity of your movement, and then you're going afterwards to the public and saying, no, I unequivocally defend these people, I think that's deeply disingenuous, and I think that's a deep betrayal. Probably the most damning kind of betrayal you can make as a political figure is to be secretly working against the interests or speaking against the interests of the people you're supposedly representing, and then lying to them afterwards and saying that, no, I'm actually 100% on your side.
Well, if their public advocacy seems to be working in the favor of, then that's pretty good, right? I mean, politicians are two-faced all the time,
I don't think her. Well, no, that's not an excuse, Zonia. By that logic, you would have voted for Nixon after Watergate. When your public representatives are lying about their purposes and their goals, their statements afterwards that, oh, by my highfalutin coalition, I wasn't finished speaking.
Let him finish because he doesn't have time.
By my highfalutin coalition building among goddamn Twitch poll streamers, we're going to somehow bring about the revolution, and you all be saved along with us anyways. If leaving aside the fact that no, unfortunately, her somehow involving herself in the canvassing efforts of Vosh and Destiny, that's not going to secure anything for anybody. Let's assume that it did. If she is making prescriptions that on a surface level, more than a surface level actually, but on a surface level appear to be against the interest of a subset of that group, but she claims they're in the interest of that group because if the whole succeeds, they will succeed with it. If she's secretly telling people she doesn't give a shit about that group, that's a problem, because it means that group is being misled by somebody who's claiming to speak for them, who is actually operating against their own interests or doesn't care about them. So they're lying when they say this will be good for you. They just don't give a shit about those people.
Well, so there's a very lengthy history of shit talking each other behind the scenes constantly. It happens.
That's not an excuse.
Doesn't matter how pure of a leftist you are, it always happens. But if your public advocacy is working in the benefit of the LGBTQ community, then I think that's a pretty damn good thing.
I think you would have to be monumentally naive. I think you would have to be monumentally naive to believe at this point.
I don't think so. And if you just don't if you're not ready to, fully adopt on all of sort of the new, more modern, open-minded sort of policies,
then don't lie.
Then
don't lie to the people you're representing.
Then it's fine to not want to have to take that on right now and to be a little bit more pragmatic.
But she's lying. She's lying.
I haven't gone through.
You don't deny that she's lying. Sure.
I haven't gone through all of your stuff, but
There's 3 pages. It's not that much.
But I do know that there is always this is what I'm advocating for, and then there's sometimes I don't always agree with the people that are in this particular subset or something, right?
Well, it's a problem because one of the people she doesn't agree with is called Brianna Wu on Twitter. So if she's saying I unequivocally support non-binary people, and then she's equivocating on supporting non-binary people or outright complaining about their influence,
about Joe in that situation.
Yeah. She was talking about
Joe was dear gender.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I just think it's not okay to question beliefs in private among people who you can have those conversations.
Well,
I do have to run, unfortunately. Food shops. We'll continue this later, Zanya. I can talk to her.
Yeah.
But I do need to leave. My partner just came home. So have a good night, everyone.
Sunday,
have a good night.
Sunday, I do want to talk.
Don't have a good night.
About okay.
I will. Just because you said that.
I do want to talk one-on-one with you about transmedicalism sometime. But yes, I'll say goodnight to you right for now, and thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, for now, good night. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
President Run Day.
Farewell.
How does it feel to be like a large, monotone man with the personality of a rock?
He's still here.
So anyways, I have a productive question.
Oh, he is? Oh, I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
What were you going to...
I love you all.
Good night.
All right.
What were you saying?
So my question for Tom is...
Voice, also slow wit. Large man, slow wit, personality of a rock.
Yeah, we get it.
And a monotone
we get it. You're
voice.
mad. Yeah, we get it.
I think to me the biggest argument should have been the stuff about the neopronoun stuff, because he made it sound like arguing that she's criticizing neopronouns throughout almost all of it, and then he says, "Well, you're criticizing neopronouns, therefore you're not a non-binary ally," and I don't think that actually makes sense. You can criticize neopronouns and still be on board with non-binary.
And the other problem with that,
don't even represent their beliefs properly. This is like
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time.
She's very pro-non-binary in that chat.
What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
I really want to get something out of the way.
Fell apart fast.
Hold on.
I know you do, but
I just want to qualify.
I've been waiting longer than you have at this point.
All right, sure. Sorry.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Nico. So, Mr. Foolery, do you have any objections to the claim that the gender abolition movement is more about getting rid of the need for people to conform to gender roles than about getting rid of gender altogether. Like, nobody's claiming that trans women need to not exist and we need to abolish gender that way. But you can recognize that, right?
I agree that that is what is stated, yes.
But you think that you have better knowledge on how it works?
I think that as long as the patterns exist, as long as males act more like males and females act more like females, and they have separate interests and separate body language and different things that they do, they are going to have patterns that the rest of us recognize. And as soon as we recognize those patterns, we're going to categorize them as separate things, and we just call that gender.
So this is anti-non-binary because we also see that there are some people who don't have masculine or feminine traits at the end of the day.
I don't agree with that. I do not think that that's true. I've never seen a person who did not
That's
have
your subjective
gender
experience. That's your subjective
It's not.
experience,
I
but you're
have
somebody who's
never-
comfortable.
I've
Go
never
ahead.
seen a person who did not have gendered characteristics ever in my entire life. And I've had a lot of people say that they are agender. I've seen people say that they are non-binary. They might have a more mixed bag of gendered characteristics where they come off as more androgynous. And that makes sense if that's what we want to talk about when we're talking about non-binary people. But those people are not absent of any gendered characteristics.
They're talking about having a gender absent experience as a person.
As like an identity, you mean?
Both.
Well, sure.
As like
but
an
that-
internal experience or as like an intentional identity?
I guess mostly as an internal experience, but also feeling most validated when gender isn't a part of what they're doing.
Well, gender can be very confining. So, yeah, a lot of people want to try to define themselves in a way that allows them to not be as confined by society's gendered
The
rules.
key point is that unless you have any data that it's impossible for people to feel non-binary, you are confining them to
Wait,
this
that's not
thing
what
where no
I'm
matter
saying.
what they do,
That's
what
not
they
what I
say
said.
about themselves has no meaning.
I believe in non-binary people. I just believe that they're androgynous. I believe that they have a more mixed bag
So
of gender
you're,
characteristics.
both
feminine non-binary
So
people as well
as I understand
non-binary
this,
people.
tomfoolery, as I
Being
understand this,
non-binary
this means you're saying that you think that agender people don't exist, but
I do not believe in agender. I think that's literally impossible.
I would like to do one little quick qualification. I don't know how much strongly people feel about this, but like people often like to tie neopronouns to like the trans community, but neopronouns are something that predate really even how modern understanding of transgender people. And there are plenty of cis people who use pronouns beyond the basic she, they, them. So it's something to keep in mind that it's just because someone's using neopronouns doesn't necessarily mean that they're trans.
Well,
I think
maybe
an
we just need to
issue.
address those next.
I think there's an issue where people often talk about neopronouns without understanding how they are used in practice. Many people will think that neopronoun users are absolutely insistent and get extremely angry at all times of which their preferred pronoun is not used, whereas a lot of the times they may have a hierarchy of pronouns, and a pronoun such as fey, fair might be their favorite pronoun, but it's kind of almost honorific when it's used. That's
Yeah,
a
a
thing
lot
that
of
I think people miss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
exactly.
experience I've had too, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of times when we talk about non-binary people, oftentimes you're going to find that that there's not really necessarily one set of pronouns that they use specifically, but it's more multiple sets of pronouns that they use, and a lot of times it's just one that they like above all the rest. And
the problem is worse than I thought.
I agree. I think that we have trouble though. Like my issue a lot of times, and I don't think this is actually representative of the non-binary community nor the trans community, but it is fairly common with online trans people, where they will have a gender identity that does not seem to drive their gender expression. And what it is that we would expect to see based on your identity is not actually seen by other people. And there's this cognitive dissonance between what you're telling us your identity is versus what we actually see in front of us. And we would expect normally the identity to align with the expression. And I think that lots of times these are, I understand that they're like, when the reason I bring up gender abolition is because I do think that these are like intentionally done a lot of times to try to break down gendered barriers, to try to like give people more room to express themselves. But I think we start to lose meaning in what it is that we're talking about when we use words to kind of categorize these things in the first place.
I think that somebody who says their gender is mudkip is saying something that is meaningful but requires more context. Somebody might just see them as being a girl with blue hair who and short hair and think, oh, this person's feminine or this person's androgynous. But they are trying to express something about their identity, and I don't really perceive it as being a problem that they are expressing this part of their identity, as it's usually done within trans spaces. People very rarely try to enforce this kind of discussion outside of trans spaces, and I very frequently
The problem is that it undermines the entire concept of gender. You're saying that these things are nothing but a matter of self-identity. They're self-referential categories. A man is anyone who identifies as a man. A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. So
how are you going to justify healthcare? How are you going to justify healthcare?
Hold on.
Shut the fuck up. And these people want to do this in the name of transsexual people. They want to use us, people who medically transition, of gender dysphoria, to push this ideology that we all now have to conform to, or you get your private group chat DMs leaked.
Well, like the big problem that I see, like, because to like build off of both of your points, Stardust and Jenny, is that so like Stardust, you're saying like getting healthcare, like it's a big priority, it's a big thing. There's like actionable things, and these are some things that through science we can actually win arguments on and win politicians on to get them to actually provide support for transition and for HRT and such, right? But then in addition to that, what like Jenny is talking about, the problem that we're having, and this is something I wanted to push back on President Sunday about, but there actually is a very concerted effort to say that if you're a binary trans person, you're a trans medicalist. And if you're currently focused on advocating for the medical needs of binary trans people, because it's a very valid fight and it's a desperate thing right now that we're actually losing in some battleground states, you suddenly are labeled as a trans medicalist, and then you're maligned as being Nazi adjacent and shit.
There is no such effort like that whatsoever. Binary trans people are completely accepted within the trans community. And as far as healthcare goes, similarly...
Beg to differ. We've actually seen evidence to the contrary quite aggressively right now in at least online trans spaces, which is where all this stuff is blowing up, which is what triggered this whole panel in the first place.
Also...
I've never seen that in any online trans spaces at all.
Yeah, if you don't look for it, you probably won't see it because it's easier to blind yourself to things like that.
You sound like you're deeply entrenched in a community that nobody else can relate to.
Yeah, I want to bring this back though to what Jenny was saying, because
this is the whole point that was built on by actual Jake. This is what was being built on by President Sunday as well. So what I don't know what you're talking about.
But this is very different from like what Jenny and I were talking about, is that like when I agree that you can have all sorts of identities and you can identify as a cat or whatever, like Mudkip or whatever.
Agree with that.
Like there's tons of identities that you can have. I identify as a Falcons fan, and that's freaking insane, right? But That
Pretty
doesn't mean that I call
cancel-worthy.
Falcons fan being a gender, and that's the different thing, right? It's like
Nobody's
identify
arguing
as
that
whatever
being a
you want,
Falcons fan
have
is a
these
gender, though.
identities, but when you start calling these identities gender, that's where it starts to kind of muddy the waters.
I just think I'm hearing a lot of empty and frankly nonsensical arguments here. Like when we talk of gender affirming care, we talk of treating gender dysphoria, which can be a thing which trans men, trans women, as well as non-binary people can have. And when we talk about affirmation of identity, we don't really enter the space of medical healthcare. Those are two very different subjects, and affirming an identity of a person does not block the way for a person with gender dysphoria to get medical health care. That is nonsensical.
Yeah, I would agree with that position. So why are you saying that that the arguments are nonsensical? Where does that statement conflict with what's being stated by everyone right now?
Because what is being stated is that affirming non-binary identity or even xenogender identities will somehow block the access to that healthcare, and I just don't see it.
If you were to, if your goal is to try, it depends on what you're trying to do. In the case of Brianna Wu, which is sort of like the basis for this whole thing, if you're going to politicians lobbying and you're saying, hey, we need to fight for, right now we're trying to fight for the medical coverage for trans people to be able to go through gender affirming care, she's talking about the gender affirming care. She's talking about her tea. She's talking about things like that she's trying to fight for. She's not going to a politician and saying, by the way, we need you guys all to write legislation so that you have to recognize neopronouns. That's not what she's doing, right?
I mean, it's fine that she's not doing it. I mean, different people advocate for different laws. These are two very different legal things, and for the most part, the healthcare that non-binary people and binary trans people need is relatively similar.
Yeah, so it seems like there's not really an issue. So what's the conflict
there
then?
is an issue. The conflict is that Brianna Wu, by her private discourse that has been leaked, is indicating that she is more than willing to cut off non-binary people as not really trans people.
Can you demonstrate that for me in her political advocacy?
Her immediate political advocacy does not even have to be relevant. What is
Oh,
relevant
cool.
that
So she says some things that are kind of disagreeable behind the scenes, but her political advocacy is in support of. So that's great.
what she has
Perfect.
it's not great, it's the opposite of great.
So since she's, impure in private, at least she's, doing the right thing in public. Awesome.
For now.
Sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you should be praising it. It seems, hold on, it seems like you should be praising that because it's like, holy shit, she could be advocating against us, but she's not. She's actually doing something that is supportive of the broader trans community. That's awesome.
No.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. That's awesome. You're basically saying that because she says it in private that she should somehow be condemned for all the pro-trans stuff that she's done in public that has not been anti-binary or against binary people. That's insane. That's like mental illness you're advocating for there. That makes no sense whatsoever. You're talking about trying to sacrifice somebody who's actually fought for us broadly without singling out people based on their gender identity. You're actually wanting to sacrifice that because she has some personal disagreements with certain subsets in private. What is this madness? This is absolute madness. This is self-destructive to our advocacy. This is like, you know what? I don't think we should succeed in fighting for our own advocacy. I think we should self-destruct because our advocates, even though they're doing the right thing, in private, they're just not pure enough and perfect enough for me.
So I guess
You think that Brianna Wu isn't a perfect advocate. We're not asking for perfect advocates.
That's what Lucy is asking. No, that is exactly what Lucy is asking for right now.
That is not what Lucy
is
asking
exactly
for.
what Lucy is asking for right now. That is exactly what she's asking for. She's saying in private, her views are slightly different and disagreeable, but she cannot point to her public advocacy and her political advocacy in being in line with those disagreements. So she's literally saying that she's not pure enough in private to be an advocate, and so we should sacrifice her. That is what
Daedalus, you have
why should people not be allowed to discuss these things in private in a slightly disagreeable way?
Daedalus, you have been following this media.
Talk through these ideas.
Yeah, and why does
can we
this
also-
one thing
can we also
matter
point
so
out-
much more? No, one sec. Why does this one thing that she did matter so much more than the good work she's actually done?
Right?
I think
And
that you guys
also
are
we need
ignoring
to
something
point
though,
out-
just real
we-
quick, because
Like, if you think about
I feel like this is a little bit unfair because she is like the way that you talk about other people, it does affect other people socially, right? Like actually advocating for non-binary people, making them feel welcome in spaces, talking about how they should be normalized more so. That is still political advocacy. That still does make changes to our social norms. You can't act like people having very like slurring non-binary people consistently isn't going to hurt them in any way, right?
Yeah,
That
but
is
it's a
still
very
some sense
specific
of advocacy.
There's a very specific
this is
group
for-
chat that had a very specific group of people, most of which agree entirely with that whole thing.
And they
So
were all referring to somebody, to Doe, essentially, who was like.
I was the one who started
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they were all referring to a very specific type, right? Somebody who they thought or were under the impression that was like dear gender, right?
Naomi,
So-
you are. I want to confirm with you that Brianna Wu has publicly stated an intent to remove non-binary people from the movement to try to be more clear about goals. Essentially,
No, she said she wanted to take the movement back. She said that she wanted to. Yes.
Since then also stated an apology.
True. So yeah, what Ninetails is saying, but she said initially she said that I want to take the movement back from this wing of the trans community, but as Ninetails stated, she did give an
And they were
apology
talking
on
about
that.
neo-pronouns, I thought, as well.
Yeah, I don't think it was non-binary. I think it was neo-pronouns, which again,
It was neo-pronouns.
yeah, we
Which
need
is
to
the movement
differentiate.
Is the
No.
movement taking over
This
by
is
neo-pronouns?
this is the thing. Now, non-binary people are definitely, by and large, the biggest users of neopronouns, but it is some shit to say that neopronouns are tied strictly to gender identity. That's some bullshit. So neopronouns have existed for a very long time. There are neopronouns like Caesar that go back hundreds of years, like a couple
It seems
hundred
like
years.
the majority of non-binary
and
people don't use neo-pronouns as well. So it's
and they're-
just talking about neo-pronouns, not the
and
majority of
I'm
non-binary people.
I'm a binary. I'm a binary trans person. I use any all. I go by she her, but I don't give a shit. So they're used all across the board. I know cis people using neopronouns, and it doesn't matter. It's don't try to say that it's strictly a gender thing. That's just ridiculous.
And what she didn't say is that they aren't a part of the LGBTIQ2S movement, right? She very much includes non-binaries in that and always has.
I don't think the existence of that makes me think, I don't think the pre-existence of neopronouns existing in some form of society makes me change my position on that. It's like you're telling me the history of something, but I also don't see how that validates the use of them today. We're currently in a pretty different time where neopronouns are
It doesn't. Her point is that they don't attach to non-binary people. Not that they're more valid.
It doesn't
but that they
mean.
don't
It doesn't
necessarily
mean.
attach to
It doesn't.
non-binary.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you strictly get to own the neopronouns. That's fucked up and stupid and retarded. I'm sorry. Just plain stupid. The neopronouns are used by cis people. They're used by binary people, and they're used by non-binary people. I'm a binary person who uses neopronouns. There are plenty of cis people who use neopronouns. I call total fucking bullshit on this whole thing that you're going to try and say, oh, well, if you're not in support of fighting for neopronouns, then you're clearly not in support of non-binary people. That's some
Can you
bullshit.
provide me of an example of a cis person that uses neopronouns?
Yeah, we were just looking at them the other day. We were exploring a bunch of different people who were using them.
Like someone
Jenny, who is Yeah, Jenny, who's the person we were pulling up, and she was she it, and she was cisgender. Was it actual Jake's partner? I think it's actual Jake's partner.
I have no idea. I wasn't.
Actual Jake's partner is she it. She is cis.
This is a cis person.
Why should this? Why should this
Doesn't this
neo-pronoun
further
ship? Why should this
trivialize?
neo-pronoun ship be
This is a
considered
stronger
the same
argument for
as
people who think
me,
it's
as a
trivial.
binary transsexual person with dysphoria who's medically transitioning? Why should this exist under one label?
Because having neo-pronouns and having non-binary people exist is not mutually exclusive with having medical care for trans people.
Okay, maybe you don't speak English as a first language or something. Those two things existing aren't mutually exclusive. Why should they
How
exist
so?
under one label?
How are they mutually exclusive?
I said they aren't. I said
They aren't mutually exclusive. The point is that it's not just a non-binary
Then why act
thing.
like non-binary people are harming the trans community? If you can have
Again, we're talking
legislation
about
that
neo-pronouns harming the trans community, not non-binary people right now.
you can have neo-pronouns and medical care for trans people and
But
in legislation.
I don't think anybody's
This all have
disagreeing
to
with
be
that.
considered the same thing. Why is it
take
all under
away-
this umbrella of transgender? Why?
Yeah, there are people who need medical care and there are people who do not need medical care. Does it not make sense to at least split those two categories?
That's not even what we're talking about. We're just saying that people who use neo-pronouns aren't necessarily excluded from getting
No, I know.
any
I'm
sort of
going
medical
to
care. We're
Jenny's
just saying
point
that
that everybody.
neo-pronouns aren't.
Why do we have everybody under one label when
Right,
there
but
are different
that's the
needs for
point.
these
Is that
different
food
needs?
shops-
neo-pronouns
people.
don't actually have much to do with
Right.
gender, and so calling it a non-binary thing doesn't actually make sense because neo-pronouns aren't necessarily gender exclusive.
All right, hold on one second.
Yes.
I can't paste in the side chat, so I posted in the group chat. Cis person, this is actual Jake's partner. She, it are her pronouns.
Is it a?
I don't think that's a stronger argument against it. But
No, I think it's a very
I think
strong
there's a-
argument to say
Demi-girls and
that
demi-boys?
that pronoun that
And
that
person
neo
wants
pronouns
to-
are not like solely owned by non-binary people, and therefore, if you don't support them, you don't support non-binary people.
would you agree
What
that
are we
there's a
using-
strong association with non-binary people?
I said that already. I qualified that it
Zonia-
is probably more often used by non-binary people,
Okay,
but
when
binary
it's not just
people.
about gender, we're
But
not
when you
thinking about, like,
but you have a
history, we're
binary
talking about the
person.
people involved.
But you have a binary person right here talking to you right now that uses them, and you have cis people that use them. So I'm sorry, I call bullshit on this whole thing that if you don't
Okay, so
support
the
neo,
fact that they're cis and
Okay,
like
so
utilizing neo-pronouns
I
in way
have
that
a
is equally
question.
trivial if they're using it if
I mean,
they're
dude
trans.
could be a
doesn't
neo-pronoun,
I have a
right?
question I want to ask.
it pushes
Weirder.
it pushes back against the bullshit call that is tied mostly strictly to non-binary people, and
Well,
therefore
it doesn't
not
matter
supporting
either
one doesn't
way.
support the
I
other.
have a
It doesn't
question
matter
for
either way
everybody
because
in
the
this
That's like
chat.
some. That's like some.
Just
That's
real
like
quick-
some weird.
just real
I
quick
own
to tie a
everything
bow on
because I'm
it.
special
Just real
bullshit.
quick.
I have a question for everybody in this chat.
Just real quick, let me just like close that out. The majority of non-binary people are not using neo-pronouns. So even when they're talking about excluding people with neo-pronouns, they are not talking about all non-binary people. Like President Sunday's trying to make it sound like it's a blanket statement for non-binary people, and it's just it would still be a
that's
minority
bullshit.
of them.
Yeah.
I have a question for everybody in this chat. Do you think that a movement with more people in it is going to be able to provide more support for the people and more advocacy as a single unified group?
Can I answer first?
Coalition.
That already is the LGBTQ umbrella. We already have that with the LGBTQ umbrella. I don't understand why we can't split up people with different needs.
Well,
it's
so
I'm gonna further on that.
It's already
further on that. I think a group with conflicting views, you might even say like contradicting views, should definitely take a look at the way it's like leading itself. So if there's like the idea that they should be like separate, which I believe, I don't think that non-binary people like I don't think we share the same experience. And I think that's like a lot of people feel the same way. And if you were going to throw us all under one umbrella, then you can't act naive and think like we're all going to just jump on neo-pronouns because it's just like the priorities are fucked.
Well, there's the problem that like gay and lesbian have always been the priority in the LGBTQ movement, and so most of the attention and effort and energy has gone toward them, and we've been passed over as the T has been passed over substantially quite a bit until very recently. And so it's been something that's talked about is like, hey, why don't we kind of just do our own thing and advocate for ourselves, because we keep getting deprioritized, right? So there's definitely arguments for that. But overall, like coalition building is a good thing to do. Yes. I don't think that we want to like single people out or anything like that. I think what I hear people saying, particularly Brianna Wu was saying, is that this kind of stuff is just not really winning us the attention of legislators and politicians. But these other things that we have here, we have scientific grounding for, and we can argue for. And so we can present them with that, and that is actually getting traction. And we really need to prioritize and put energy into that.
I think that the argument.
Zonia, are you
the exact same one?
Is the science getting us anywhere?
Emmanuel,
I really don't think it
before
is.
you go there, I just have to pop out. Food Shops, thank you for having me. Everyone subscribe to Two Guys Talking History. Have a good evening.
Yeah,
Good night.
I
want
you
to
so much for coming by.
Well then, that was fun.